Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream, the pleasant, happy, wonderful stream that you all know, and you come here for all your good vibes. I'm here to provide. Oh yeah. How do you reflect? What does it mean to reflect, and why do we do it? How do we do it? And why aren't you doing it? What's stopping you? Must be something to this reflection thing, huh? Do I seem like someone who reflects a lot? Maybe you should reflect on your behavior. Who should tell you when and when you shouldn't reflect? I should. No. It's not fun. TunaChip TunaChip messaged me. That's what this stream is about. TunaChip said, "How do you reflect?" I know TunaChip has talked to Elder Drazi multiple times about this. He has certain things that normal people do he's not good at. And this is one of them. So I want to tell him how to reflect, and I don't know how much he's going to be like pushing back. I think I just got a text. Break a leg, baby. So yeah, look, reflection, if TunaChip isn't reflecting and he wants me to tell him how to reflect, this could easily turn into a Dr. K stream. This could turn into me pushing a functional, duct taped together warrior until he cracks at the seams and breaks down and cries. And then everybody's like, "Oh, you're so amazing. Oh, you've helped him. You've saved his life." And really, I just pushed him off a cliff. And it gave him temporary good feels at the sake of his long-term mental health for my own personal gain. But I'm telling you that now because I don't want to do that. If I wanted to do that, I wouldn't fucking tell you, because I would be a horrible person. So I'm going to call Tuna at 8. And usually I have a lot of shit to say before jumping in and talking to someone. So I gave myself a good 15 minutes. And now I gotta come up with something to fill it with. So pretty much said everything. Okay, let me tell you. Reflection is well, firstly, I've got a conflict with Tuna already, because I don't know how much. Because when he talked to me in DMs, he asked me how to reflect, but then in his Twitter post, he's like, "Is it good to reflect?" not how to reflect. So am I going to be arguing, or am I going to be trying to help? I don't know what vibe this is going to be. I think in order to gain personal insight about yourself, and you have to develop a high tolerance for pain. And if you don't do that already, and you ask for advice from me, then my advice is going to be to jump off of a cliff into a waterfall, and you might drown. You gotta constantly, I mean, if you wanna, I think for maximum self-awareness, you have to constantly be going for the most painful thought you can go for, thinking about why it's painful, be experiencing the pain until you can tolerate it, and then doing that 10 times over until you've analyzed it so many times in so many different ways that you have a bunch of different directional perspectives, so that you can now look at it in a theoretically more dynamic way. But you can't really know yourself. You can know other people better than you can know yourself, because who's more biased about you than you? Nobody in the whole world. Maybe you hate yourself, maybe you love yourself, maybe you're a narcissist, maybe you think everything you do is perfect, maybe you think that you're a monster. But you're not an alien. You're not looking at yourself from outer space. I've been in a good mood, and that worries me. I've been in a good mood, and that worries me. Because the things that are putting me in a good mood really call into question my negative, my pain. And I have a lot to think about. That's a thought process. Because a new emotion contextualizes a past emotion. So let's say that I was... Okay, so the last time I streamed, I said, is all this... is my behavior and my dwelling and my emotional dysregulation because I'm single, and I go on Tinder and start talking to women, and then my mood changes, and we're just that's scary. Or is it? Happy Thursday. Mother's Day is coming up on Sunday. Gotta get a fucking Mother's Day gift, the sacrifice to the Mother's Day God. feel like I'm smarter the less happy I am, or the more insightful I am. Or maybe I'm just less happy the more I think about myself and introspect. It's all about developing a tolerance, I think. It's all about developing a tolerance. It's the only way you can do it and sustain it. Okay, so this particular song that I'm listening to, there is an image on this YouTube video that has me thinking a lot of thoughts. Okay, and it makes me think about my experience in high school and going to art school and stuff. I want to show you. Let's push this up here. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so this artwork here. Okay, let's do it like this. Hold on. Nah, that's not doing it for me. Okay, anyway, so you've got like this like cute girl sitting next to this like miserable sad boy, and then you got all these like women with all these different attitudes going crazy all over the place. And it really makes me think about how I felt when I was in college and I hated being a man, but I felt like I had to be a meek man, and I felt like I had to be like a femboy. I felt like I had to be this miserable, scared, sad boy right here. And that's how you get the girls to like you. That's the way you fit in. They like you when you're miserable and you're sad. And you don't make any space for yourself. It's like Tumblr feminism. I don't know what this game is. I'm ready to talk to Tuna. This is going to be chaotic. I got to keep it on the rails. I just realized something pretty bleak. They like you because you can feel pain. Well, yeah, I think that's true about me now. But I'm talking about when I was in college. I didn't like I right as I am now. I can feel pain, and I can express it, and I can make room for it, and I can talk about it, and I can make something out of it. When I was in college, and I was in my early 20s, it was like this, and I was like begging women for space and affection or care or love. Basically, I was trying to act like women act towards men, especially younger women, where I'm cute. I'm cute and I'm repressed and I'm scared. Take care of me. And in all of these, like the cartoon, like that image I just showed you, like all the women, like there's this girl, like she's taking care of him, but really that women don't do that for men the way men do that for women, or not nearly as much. And it's is it good for women that we do that? Probably not. Is it good for me that I did that? Probably not. All right, I'm going to call up TunaChip. Yo. Can I call? Look, I'm scared right now. Because I feel like this girl that I was talking to on Tinder is watching this, and now I'm scared. Now I'm self-conscious. Yeah, that's what's going on with me right now. I'm afraid of her. I'm afraid. Well, yeah. You have to admit things to... You have to admit things about yourself to take control of yourself. And admitting things to others is leaps and bounds more than admitting it to yourself. Because you can admit it to yourself and then still lie about it and still hold it back. So you contain it off and segment it off into one portion, and the rest of your mind acts as if it's not your reality. But once you tell other people, now your whole mind is like, okay, I actually have this thought. See. All right, let's call him up.
What's up, buddy?
Yo, what's up?
I'm live. Are you live?
Yes, I am.
Sweet.
I'm
Let me go ahead and
alive.
put you in a more convenient place. I got some notes pulled up. I'm going to change the scene and get your face on here. So let's...
Okay. I saw your Twitter post, and I thought it seemed different than what you had. If you need me to like not talk to you while you're doing...
Oh, no. You can...
Yeah,
I'm paying attention.
It seemed different than... So you asked me, how do I reflect? But it seemed like
Yes,
your Twitter.
so
It seemed like your Twitter post is more of an argument.
It's not going to be argumentative. Although I typed it out that way because I thought that would be essentially clickbaity.
Oh,
I was basically... I'm not baiting you. I'm baiting people because people like a little bit more of a back and forth. But I am... we can get into some discussion because I'm a stubborn enough person that because one of the main things is... Let me get you on screen before we keep talking. Let me get you on screen.
That's why I said that. I knew that. I was right. I was right about you. I knew you needed me to shut the fuck up for a moment.
You're right. I have like a place where you're meant to be, but it's gonna look weird. I think I need to like change where I am. So you know that. Let's just go ahead and duplicate this scene so that I can go back to it later. And I'm gonna do the classic Smeth style format that some people would call the Mr. Gore format. Half of the screen is me,
it's just half and half. It's not that. It's not like it's...
Yeah, I know. But keep in mind, there's not much quote unquote innovation in this sphere.
Yeah.
In terms of format, like a lot of people, their understanding of how a discussion looks or a conversation looks is just, oh, they full screened the Discord application.
Yeah.
It's
Or,
wretched.
you know, if you want to say that something is the Smeth format, that's when you take a panel and then you make a new window on OBS for every single face, and you put them all around your face.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
That is-
And then somebody, I guess, I associate that with, God, what was his name? The owner of Kick. What's that guy's name? Trainwrecks. Trainwrecks had the Trainwrecks podcast. He used to do that, and what would happen is that a new person would come in and would fuck up the
That's
format.
what happened with me every time.
It's what happens with you every single time. It's sort of the natural issue with the thing is that it doesn't lend itself to change, obviously, or guests coming in. Anyway, so yes, a big part of this conversation, and the conversation topic is emotional. What's the term? What's the term that I
You said reflection.
Yeah.
Why are you saying emotional reflection rather than
because
just
I think
reflection?
that there's a way of reflecting on thoughts and ideas and testing them with the outside world, but emotional reflection is like, it's so internal. It's so much more internal. It's like there's some outside stimuli that you can look at. Oh, my heartbeat raced, but it's experienced as an internal process. Versus like you can test in reality some other things. When I think of reflection, at first I was only going to use the word reflection. But then I started asking myself, why is it that sometimes people say I'm a very emotionally mature, considerate, complex individual, but I continue to believe that I don't emotionally reflect. And people say that, well, I must emotionally reflect based on the way that I exist and
I think
talk
these are
and do
totally
things.
different things.
Exactly. That's why I say emotional, because I want to distinguish them. Now, if you think they're so different that they shouldn't even share the word reflection, then maybe that's a point of disagreement.
Well, when somebody says they're emotionally mature, I think of comfortability with emotion, being tolerant of your own emotions and the emotions of others. Not being so like I think someone who is emotionally immature will react inappropriately to the emotions of both themselves and others. And I don't think that's the same as emotional reflection. I think it might be the byproduct of some emotional reflection.
I think that's the connective tissue right there, like I was talking about. People just assume that I do a lot of emotional reflection because of the way that I talk. And like, for instance, in relationships, I've done a lot of work. I've consistently for a really long time been the one who makes it so that the relationship doesn't fall into resentment by way of the other person being unwilling to talk about their emotions. I'm usually the person who somebody says something, they have a strong reaction, they shut down, and then I say, we are talking about this. This conversation is happening, and I don't have an issue there. I'm like very, very perceptive of the fact that they are having a strong emotion and they are hiding it. But when I think about my own emotions, and when people ask me certain questions or they talk about the way that they experience their emotions and think about their emotions, I notice that there's a deficit there in me. And that is compelling.
Yeah, and you've talked about this before. And it's always made me, it's always made me think there's something wrong with you. I mean,
No, I know.
Yeah.
You're not the first person to say it.
But yeah, it's not.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's define really quick. How do you define emotional reflection, or how do you define a reflection? What does it look like to reflect?
This is an abstract concept. So get
that out of the way, but then try your best to de-abstract it.
Yeah. So So when we say emotional reflection, it should be what you're talking. It shouldn't be what I'm talking about. It should be, if you're asking me, it should be.
You want me to define it because it's a conversation that comes from my emotional.
Yeah, I mean,
desire.
let's argue. Us
sure.
arguing over it is pointless, you know.
Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to. Okay. So the reason I was deferring to you is because you're the one that experiences it, and I'm the one who has a sense that something exists but is lacking in me. So
you
that's
want me
the
to tell
struggle.
you what I think it is that you're not doing?
Let me try and do my best guess, and then you tell me whether or not you're let me tell you what the phantasmal image from other people's words.
Okay, no, just
the abstract concept.
This I think would be most helpful. Describe, like, if you can think of one like that's benign enough, like, or you're comfortable with, a story in which you realize that you weren't doing that.
Oh, that happens every day. But I have a story that's sort of in a different way, which is the exception. A random time, because I can count on this one hand, and some of the fingers would remain down, how many times my brain has just told me that I feel away. Definitely less than 5. That suddenly I just had the thought, and I was like, I feel this way, and I feel this way because of X. Maybe 3 times my entire life. Very, very rare. And I don't have that thought about other people either. The normal experience for me is also to feel as if other people deserve an emotional privacy, and that thinking about their emotions and thinking about their motivations is an invasion of that privacy.
Right. Okay. So that's definitely linked. How you think about others and how you think about yourself is probably not disconnected.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have to have some relation.
Okay. Before we go, okay, so the way this is going, so the way that we're talking about it is already, and I think this might be important and good, but also for what you actually want, not good. But for the sake of the stream
Sure.
and for your mental health, I think it might be good. But the way we're talking about it is a bit abstracted. Looking at yourself like an alien, sort of like with
Yeah. Let's try and make me more native to the environment.
But no, doing okay. So what I'm saying is, I think that to reflect is not something you usually try to do. It's something we just usually automatically do.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that if you're not doing it, there might be a reason for that. And so if I tell you something, if we figure out, like, if we go really personal and then we figured out, you might, like, if I actually somehow, like a genius, or I Dr. K you, then you
Dr.
might
K
have a complete mental break. You'll have a mental breakdown. You'll have a mental breakdown. If you have not been doing that for forever, there's something that is probably lurking underneath.
I don't know if I agree with you on that, but I understand that that's a fear that you're bringing into this, that you might accidentally do something that could harm me.
Well, okay, so I was telling my stream this before we started talking, but I think a big part of I think emotional reflection, whatever, I think self-awareness is like the thing that comes out of that. I think emotional maturity, self-awareness, these are all like related. And I think that to be self-aware and to develop and work on self-awareness, you have to develop a tolerance to pain. And the people who are the most self-aware are the most comfortable being miserable. You have to, like, be comfortable having horrible thoughts about yourself and diving into the most uncomfortable possible place that you're because otherwise you're avoiding it and you're hiding it off, you're quarantining it off to a secluded part of your brain. You don't have to interact with it. And to be self-aware means you're going to have to dip your toes in it and the people who are the most self-aware are just real good at swimming.
Sure. I don't know whether or not self-awareness is a strong value for me. So it's not necessarily, but I am curious still about just one, what the motive behind reflection is. Two,
The motive?
yeah, what the motive is. Like, what's the goal? What's the end result? What's the drive? What do you get out of it? Why do you do it? Because you're saying it's difficult. I have some theories on why different people do it. I could list some if you don't have an immediate thought.
I don't trust your thought. But I mean, what is it?
One of them.
Wait, hold on, if you don't mind. So when I said, well, I don't trust your thought, you looked sort of upset by that, and then I said, what is it? And you completely dropped that upset.
It wasn't that I was upset. I was, the main thought that I had was, you're the resistant one right now. And we were having a conversation where you came in scared that I would be resistant and that I wouldn't be and that it would be combative. And then for a moment when I said something, it put you in the position that you thought that I would be in.
No. Well, no, I don't see it that way. Well, I guess I can't just say no, but I don't. You are telling me that you are unable to emotionally reflect. So
Not that I'm unable. Not that I'm unable.
How you're unable? What are you?
But I just don't do it.
But you are able.
I'm not going in with some kind of confidence, oh, I can't emotionally reflect. I could never do that.
So you can, but you just don't.
I just don't know how to.
But that's okay. So when I say unable, because we're saying it's sort of an automatic thing, I think it's not a knowing how to thing. And the reason I say that I don't trust what you think it is I'm not saying that I don't think it's not interesting what you're going to have to say. It's that I think that your rationalizing of it is inherently already probably flawed.
Maybe. I wouldn't be super against the idea that it'd be flawed. I guess my excitement to toss one out is because I want to test how close I am to the truth from the perspective of a person who does reflect, because that will tell me something about how distant I am from the thing and genuine.
So you were excited and then I shut you down.
To a certain extent, but then you undid the shooting down. So that's more what you saw. I would say that there was a...
That was my people pleasing. So that's a problem for me. I shouldn't have done that. But now
so?
I've undoing that. Okay, because now I'm diving into I saw on your face that you felt shut down, and then I was like, fuck, and then I was like, okay, but what do you have to say? But I actually didn't want to hear what you had to say because I still felt the same. But
maybe.
But you were excited. I didn't see that you were excited. I saw that you looked disappointed. But were you aware that you were excited when that moment was happening?
No, I don't feel my emotions while they're happening. I only feel them in retrograde when talking through and thinking about them. But I don't feel emotions very strongly. There's some that I do. I was talking about this earlier. Some emotions I can only experience in retrograde, and then some I experience in the moment, and the ones that I experience in the moment are because they are so intense that they bury me. They take control.
Well, I think that's actually not so. I think that knowing what emotions you have while you're having them is actually kind of hard. And the best way that I've heard to do it is really weird, but you have to. So let's say you become enraged. That's a really obvious one. Your face can get flushed. You feel it in your face. You know what I mean?
I feel it in my entire body.
Right, I know, but there's under your eyes. You have a weird under your eyes feeling. At least I do. All emotions, I feel the best way to notice what they are is sort of focus on your bodily feeling.
So I've done DBT before.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the emotions explained, what the signs and triggers of them are. I don't have pretty much any skill doing that. I'm not very cognitive when I feel an emotion that's that strong. And when I do have my cognitive faculties, my emotions are so subtle that I don't even know to be looking at my body to see if I'm having them, because I don't experience them. There's such a delta. The only emotions that I notice that would make me think to look for an emotion overwhelm me.
So with me, I am constantly like asking myself, like, what emotion, like trying to find the subtle ones. And I am, I don't know if the right word would, but I'm like preoccupied with that because I get a lot of mileage out of that. It seems like you have built your brain to not get mileage out of that. You've built your brain to get mileage out of something else. So to focus on that would be to distract you, or maybe it would suck you away from something else. I mean, like
that's a theory.
I think that a lot
that's
of
a theory. I'm not pushing against it as like its legitimacy. I guess the main thought that I have is, why are we theorizing the cause?
That's what emotional reflection is.
Or the function, as opposed to talking about the alternative, which is what I'm curious in.
Well, I think that the theorizing is, through lots and lots of theorizing, is how you'd end up at the abilities of emotional reflection. And after you've theorized, so like say you have a weird emotional experience and you don't understand why you were like that, what was happening, but it's definitely something you need to figure out, because you can't be, it's just not a good way to live. You need to figure this out. You wade out in the pain. You're like, am I insane when this is happening? Like that's like, a thought you might be having.
Sure.
And you sit up and you think about it like that. Then you come to an epiphany and you have these theories and you think about it from another perspective. Now you understand yourself more, and you might still be wrong. And more times you do that and you've walked around it. You're in all this water and you're walking around this object in the middle of the water and you're swimming through all of this pain around it. And the deepest part of the water is going to be the most hard to admit to yourself. And that's why it's hard to know yourself, because it's hard to admit things to yourself. And that's why I say you have to experience pain to be able to emotionally reflect. You have to be trying to find things that you can admit about yourself to yourself that hurt to admit.
So there are two places to go with this. One might be slightly longer, because it's instructive. And then the other one might be longer than I want it to be, because it's very, very able to be argumentative. So I'm going to give you two options. I want to go into both of them. I don't want to get lost in one and not get to the other, because I think that they're both important. But on one hand, I think that through your experience, and not even just you uniquely, but just like your experience and like a lot of people's experience with doing that on a regular basis, you're going through certain steps that for me are extremely foreign quite quickly. You can say them and you can think of them as intuitive and regular, and they're just not for me. So that's one, which is like going deeper into the stages and steps. And then the other one is my theory, two theories that I have on why that is prioritized. And then also asking what a person who does do that thinks in terms of what is good about it and why it's prioritized. So that one's more argumentative.
Oh yeah.
So I'm giving you the option. What do you think would be what do you think would allow us to do both? Which one that we go through first would allow us to do both?
Well, I think the second one is a good way to never do the first one.
Okay, let's do the first one.
Even internally within yourself.
No, I'm not saying it out of a total denial. And if that is true, I've already had the thought before. So if the worry you have is that I'm going to be resistant because I've already had that cognition. But I am a person that is trying to set aside that bias. Because I'm not trying to say, like, I'm smarter, I know why. I'm saying, as a person in my vantage, the only way I'm able to logically grapple with this unintuitive foreign thing is from what I can cohere from my experiences and what it looks like from the outside. But I can't possibly know what it's like from the inside. And I'm willing to hear what it's like from the inside and hold it to at least the same, if not higher, authority in terms of like messaging of what the true motive is. Because I think also, I'm not like a super Freudian person. I don't think that every belief is a lie disguising an opposite truth. I do think that very often the thing that we desire is legitimately the thing that we desire. It's just, it's the fabric of our mind.
I think that you are trying, I don't know, excuse me, that's not the right word. I don't think you're trying. I think that you are hyper intellectualizing something that can't be. Okay, let's go to number 2 first. I'm gonna just rug pull the whole thing. Okay, so doing what I'm talking about. If you want to be Elon Musk, you want to be a super successful businessman, you want to be the president of the United States, doing what I'm talking about will make you fail. It will make you more able to connect with others and understand yourself, have better relationships. It'll make you a woman, but it won't make you a machine, which is a man.
Why? Can I want to push against one thing. Why is it then that the rich and the CEOs are always the ones going on?
Because they're doing what you're doing right now.
What I'm doing. What am I doing right now?
You're noticing that you aren't able to do this thing, and then you're talking.
Oh, you're saying it's like a vacation from the machinic way of being?
Not just a vacation, but also like there's...
Can I finish my sentence? Because we do have an audience. You knew what I was about to say, which is, why is it that the CEOs and the businessmen and these extremely rich people, why is it that they're the ones that are going on these spiritual journeys? They're doing peyote, they're going to they're doing ayahuasca, they're going on what do they call the term, mindfulness retreats,
Reiki.
Where they're
doing
dopamine
Reiki
detox.
Yeah, they are. I think of it in a lot of I think of like a guy buttoning up like Snape, Severus Snape. He has like a shit ton of buttons. He buttons them all up meticulously. You can't even picture what Snape looks like naked. He's just, so what's on the inside is he's so disconnected from I guess maybe not, he's angsty, whatever. A businessman buttoning up his tie, getting all stiff upper lip. These people going on these retreats are trying to feel something because they don't feel things.
It's Westworld, right? The villain of Westworld is probably the easiest example.
I've never watched it.
Oh, okay. Well, the villain of Westworld, I'll spoil literally nothing because it reveals in episode 1. I won't tell you who he is, but simply put, a bunch of rich people go to Westworld so that they can do whatever they want to these robots that are pretending to be in the Wild West. And a lot of people are like fulfilling power fantasies, getting a gun, killing a bunch of people, but usually in a narrative sense. They're following narratives. It's like they're playing an MMO. It's like they're playing Red Dead Redemption 2, but with their real body. This guy, all he does is he just goes around killing people. Just like a serial killer. He just goes one at a time, skinning scalps, shooting people. And it's because if you're a person
American
that's
Psycho.
Disconnected, well, it's not just that. What does it mean when you're a person that lives the way that the rich and the elite do? Need to I think that they do it to themselves though. Some of them do like rape babies and shit, and probably fucking like eat crazy.
But you're changing the topic.
Endangered eagles and shit. But I'm saying you have to do an extreme thing that is the opposite of your normal way of being. You take ayahuasca because you're so uptight. You don't take it because you're
yeah, but they also no. What what I'm saying is that they have a sadness because they are lacking the full human experience. They've dedicated their life to being a machine, so they don't feel human. So they need to do some crazy fucking extreme thing. They just try to feel something. But why was that?
That was working class person.
That was a secondary point.
This is an important thing, though. I want to push up against this just because it doesn't grok with me. So if we go past it, I might be agreeing to something that just doesn't even make sense to a foundational
But the going past it is the way that you're going to be able to emotionally reflect because...
Okay, we'll go past it in a moment, but...
Because...
How do you explain the fact that...
You shift away from the emotion to go into a rationalization constantly.
I'm not gonna fight against that. I do think that I am a naturally more discursive, cognitive, as opposed to emotional person. Duh. We're going into this conversation knowing that already. That's the common agreement. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, I disagree with the thing that you're saying on the truth basis because working class people are the most likely to live life like machines, especially the men. They're very emotionally cut off. They're usually alcoholics. They engage with who's drinking Monster Energy to keep awake instead of like sleeping and being more mindful?
I think that you can see that's where I just don't really agree with the way you're using the abstract concept that I'm using so I think that the CEO that has to go on an ayahuasca trip, he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't do any of this shit. Maybe he does Adderall or something, but he is a machine. Like the guy that goes to work every day, comes home and is so miserable that he can't live with himself and just gets drunk. That guy, if he was a machine, he wouldn't need to get drunk. What I'm saying is the people that need to get drunk, they still know that they have to repress something. I'm saying that the people like these like a venture capitalist entrepreneur like psycho doesn't need to even drink because he's pushed it so far into himself that he doesn't even need to fucking get drunk.
I've figured out the synthesis of our points, which is that if I was born into money, I would have probably been one of those people. Because I am of that temperament.
Yes.
But because I was born poor, like I have a mortgage because I lived out of my car for 2.5 years and worked 80 hours a day. Or not 80 hours a day, 80 hours a week for the entirety of that 2.5 year span. I have the entrepreneurial spirit, but I didn't have the venture capital and I didn't have the experience and education for it to turn me into an Elon Musk
connections.
Or a fucking...
Yeah.
But I do have that spirit in me.
Yeah.
I am that type of person. You were right.
Yeah. But I think that you're asking me like how to be not that person. So I mean, so it might be good for you.
I'm not just asking you how to not be that person. Although that's part of it. I'm asking you what the steps are. That's much different to me for some reason, because it's not just that I'm asking you. I'm already trying. I don't need you to tell me everything, but there are hangups. And we can go to the first half on it, or you can hear my half on the arguments. We could do a sandwich. But do you want to hear my skepticism beforehand so that we can get it on the air? Or do you want to just not hear it? And have it loom in the back of your head as a guessing game.
It wasn't gonna. I don't even know what you're talking about, but I just know.
When
that
I said that, what the motive structure looks like from the outside.
Yeah.
Okay. 2.
I feel like if you say it, it's gonna make the conversation harder.
Probably won't. It'll make it harder for me if I have it in my head and you don't know it, because then I feel like I have something that you don't know. That's why I want to get it out more than anything. Partially also because I have an opinion and I would like to propagate awareness of the opinion, if not belief in the opinion. But I don't actually want to argue in favor of it with you right now. I am trying to be peaceful and cohabitational with these ideas. Genuinely, because I would just write a fucking blog post and say everybody's retarded for having feelings if the only thing that I cared about was that. I don't care uniquely about specifically you believing my thing, and I don't think that I'm very compelling in this point, because I'm starting the conversation off by saying that if I was born into money, I would have become Elon Musk. That's not a relatable thing. I'm not exactly making myself out to be Jesus Christ on the cross here.
I agree with you. Well, yeah. I think you were probably, molded into that through some kind of trauma, whatever.
Yeah, maybe. I also think that it's not even about trauma. Nearly, well, it depends on your definition of trauma. Trauma has this like flexibility in its usage. So yeah, it probably is by some definition of the word, but I think it has more to do with a lack of nurturance of that as a cognitive skill. This idea of reflection and this idea of paying attention to emotions. It's just not something that was ever modeled. Nobody in my family does that. My family doesn't say I love you.
I definitely didn't. Okay, so I had to learn those skills not because my family did it, but I had to learn them because they didn't do it. So I had to do it. I was like parentified. So basically, in the way that I find myself being needy to Mr. Girl, or just anybody, that's how my parents were to me.
Sure. My parents weren't that way with me, but that's an interesting dynamic difference. My parents and me didn't talk to one another. We didn't spend time in rooms together. They didn't ask things of me. My grandmother one time did that, and I instantly let her down, and it crushed her soul. She took me out. It was Christmas. She took me out to go see the lights that people put on their houses. Mm-hmm. She drove into this neighborhood where the rich people put thousands of lights all over their houses. I'm probably like 6, 7. Parents recently divorced, living with the grandparents while all of those executive decisions are being sorted out, probably 6 or 7. And she's driving me around and she's saying, wow, she's talking like she's on a kid's TV show. I find it condescending already at that age. So I'm a little frustrated on a certain level because it feels disrespectful. Because I was probably accelerated in my aging by those exposures. But she says, how many lights do you think are on that house? She goes over to how many? And I said, at least 100. Because I was refusing to play into her game of like wanting to experience childlike wonder through me as a vicarious instrument. I understood what was happening, that this wasn't for me, this was for her. I didn't ask to go see the lights. I don't care. Now, she probably didn't understand that fully in the moment that she was trying to live through me. I think that people don't think about it that way. But she was a grandmother. That's why people want to be parents. That's why people want to be grandparents. That's why they want an escape from the fact that they're dying to a certain extent, and that they're past their innocence as well. There's a whole bunch that people put on kids.
Yeah.
But I will say, she never tried anything like that ever again with me. I shut the door really early.
For me, it was shutting the door and having a SWAT team at the other side of the door constantly blowing it down and shooting my brains out. So I would hide, but in the end, I would always have to do it. And I would always have to grit my teeth and be like, oh, okay, just to get the fucking left alone. Or to just not have like a massive meltdown in the family. I would have to take care of everybody else and be whatever they needed me to be. And yeah.
Interesting, because people, I mentioned it earlier, this like term that people use, emotional incest, right? The destructuring of the filial rule, the raising of the child's responsibilities up to the role of the adult. A lot of people associate that like so, and not just people, statistically, that is extremely associated with divorce. Got very lucky in many ways that my father was that I was raised with my father instead of my mother, because I feel like women, they're just so much more, it's so much easier for them to express, consciously or unconsciously, need, versus my father, to even be in the same room as me while he was mourning the divorce was humiliating for him. So we just wouldn't spend time together. We didn't spend any time together during that. I've seen him cry.
See, I'm Dr. K-ing you.
You don't have to. I actually don't. So here's the interesting thing. You would call it Dr. K-ing me if you were probing me, but I've said all of these things publicly on stream before.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted.
And I'm not experiencing emotions right now to the point of like focusing on them. These are
so
stories.
that's the thing. Yeah, so I'm also, that's heavily on my mind the whole time. Basically for the last like 30, I don't know how long. For the last 30 minutes, I have
You've been thinking about what emotions I was feeling?
No. I've been thinking about how you keep avoiding the actual topic.
Oh, I'm not trying to.
No, I don't think you're trying to, but I think you do. And I think that act in itself is the thing that I'm trying to tell you is the way to... that act is why it's hard for you to do the emotional reflection thing.
Sure. You're calling it an act, but what I'm trying to tell you is that,
it's not on
and maybe you already know
purpose.
this, you remember when I said this earlier, is that I have not at any point during this conversation had like something go off in my brain, like a notification on a phone that says you could emotionally reflect right now.
No, I know, of course, no.
No.
If you had that thought, then that would be like leaps and bounds. And like I agree with you 100%. I'm saying you are wired. So like it is you're hiding that dialogue tree from yourself. You don't even know it exists. There's no notification.
Yeah, I'm not thinking.
You would have to go. You would have to go into the settings on your phone. And then go through like 10 different things. Like if you ever like don't know what model your phone is, it's not like you can just like, you have to like go into like the settings and you go to your Apple ID or whatever the fuck, and then you have to figure out like that. You'd have to Google, how do I found what model phone I have, and then go into your, or it's like
I Googled infinite times, how do you note what emotion you're feeling? I've never found anything useful.
But actually Googling it, look, okay, look. So like with the things like emotion, describing emotions and stuff is usually, most emotions that we describe are an abstraction.
What do you mean?
They are a semantic, abstract representation of a type of emotional experience given a certain scenario.
You try talking to a retard. Talk to the child. What are you saying?
Okay, so like frustration, okay?
Okay.
Anger is an emotion. Frustration is an emotion. The difference really is context and frustration means that you feel like you have to hold back. So it's not just an emotion. Frustration means that there's a cognition that is wrapped around the emotion, because you have anger, but you feel like you want
trapped
to do something and you're not. Yes, so you feel trapped, and feeling trapped isn't an emotion, it's a scenario. So knowing what emotion you're feeling, emotions in themselves are already
conflict. Because I don't want to be doing this, but I do want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing this because of the short term. I do want to do it because of the long term. That's frustration, right? Would you say that other emotions fit that, like sadness?
I'm just saying that I'm just trying to say that frustration isn't just a feeling. It's a scenario and it's cognition wrapped around a feeling and a scenario all intertwined.
Yes.
Okay. So if you Google like how to so there's gonna be a bunch of internet gurus and a bunch of bullshit. It's gonna anybody that talks about there's not really an easy way to talk about any of these things because they're always going to be so contextual. And I think understanding of psychology and emotions is in itself always so I believe that psychology is a narrative field. It's a linguistic, it's a literary field.
Okay, I want to take a pause here. If you had let me go into my beliefs about underlying motivations, it wouldn't have been a fight. We would have been sucking each other off in a 69. Because you're not that far off from some of my opinions on the motive structure. Like I've literally, before you came in here, was talking about how I think that one of the main reasons that people, and one of the traps I think that people have when they try going into reflection is that they're going in with the idea that emotions and feelings are this abstract thing that until they're able to be brought into a linguistic frame that they're too raw. They need to be explained. They need to be turned into a cognitive understanding. They need to be made aware through the supremacy of the linguistic, but that being comfortable with the feeling being a feeling and not having words to it is probably a more mature and better way to engage with them. It sounds like maybe not exactly, but my brain is at least
I'm saying that the
well, you're critical of therapy in this regard, right?
If you try to Google why a joke is funny, you'll get an answer that will ruin the joke, and then it won't be funny.
Sure.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't explain why the joke is funny and get you to laugh.
You can explain why, you can tell the joke, get you to laugh, explain why it's funny, and then you have to do some kind of like weird, like saltine cracker mental process to try and clean your palate, then hear the joke.
That's not what I'm getting at.
Don't think about why it's funny, just experience it.
No, that's not what I'm getting at. I'm saying in this analogy, the understanding of why it's funny, understanding of your emotions, if you go to like a neuroscience level and you talk about chemicals and you talk about like stimulus, sure, and you stuff, and if you do that, you're not actually gonna get a narrative that's gonna be helpful for when you're experiencing the emotions. So the only way that you can interact with them in a helpful way is in a narrative way that you have. There's like you'll have more than one, like, so if you're talking about frustration, you can have like 20 I don't know, like that'd be but you can have like so many different ways of thinking about frustration, and these are just a narrative, like a fable about like a dog that chases a cat, and that fable you think about your own experience within that, and you're thinking about it in a narrative way. So you it's like it's stories, and that's why, so like personality disorders, the study of personality disorders is they're fables. They are abstract. They're not neuroscience related whatsoever at all. They are completely
what, like Oedipal
yeah,
things like this.
Yeah,
things
and like
narcissism analogy.
Like the narcissism comes from like Narcissa or whatever. Yeah. So like it's a field of creating these narratives that help you contextualize certain experiences.
Well, it's recognizing the arcana is another one. It's not always just medical, but it's recognizing that something in our stories was trying to reflect common experiences that humans go through.
Yeah, because the way we think is in stories. Like the way we have memories, like a memory, someone tells you something that happened to them, you can learn from them by listening to their experience and what they did and what they went through. That's how you don't think about it like I'm having dopamine shoot through this right now, and like you don't think about it like that.
Get ready, buddy. Because I'm going to hit you with the soyest thing of all time, the classic. I'm not so sure that is ingrained, that's boiled in, that's default. Because I struggle to think in narrative.
Okay, that explains it. Oh, well, that doesn't explain it. It's related.
I had this conversation earlier. I didn't read stories at all growing up. I didn't watch movies. I didn't watch TV. I played vintage video games that were basically narrativeless. My parents didn't read to me. Apparently, that's a common experience. Nobody read to me. There weren't story books or little kids' books growing up. And the first books that I ever read were nonfiction. Like the first ones that I ever reached to were mostly physics textbooks about acoustics. That's the first book that I ever went out into. When I started being interested in anything that was like cartoon related, I was interested. The first cartoon I ever watched was the Pokemon cartoon because I played the game and I liked the design of the characters. Specifically the Pokemon. I didn't care about the humans at all. I don't remember anything other than Ash wants to catch all the Pokemon.
And Brock wants to fuck all the women.
Brock also has some kind of like patheticness. Misty wears shorts. She's a ginger. She has a Psyduck and a Staryu. There are two women that look the same, one with pink hair and one's a cop. You're losing the rest. There's Dr. something. Oak. Dr. Oak. He gives you your first Pokemon.
What are you trying? Why are you saying this?
I'm trying to say that I remember objects, I remember lists of things, but I don't actually think in stories. I think at work, there are two main jobs that I do. There's one job that is a spreadsheet, and there's another one where you edit videos. Every time that I have to watch television at all, I want to slit my wrists open. It's the most painful experience of my entire life.
Okay, so I don't
having to watch.
So I think that I don't know if it doesn't matter what the answer to this question is.
Sure,
it doesn't answer to my question, but I don't know what is the chicken or the egg with this. If that narrative, not being a narrative type thinker, leads you to not be able to think emotionally, or if your resistance to thinking in that emotional way is what leads to the lack of the narrative thinking.
You're frustrated right now because I don't think narratively enough for you. And I'm frustrated because you think narratively.
I'm not frustrated. No, I'm actually the least frustrated.
No, earlier.
Because now that you've...
I get it!
Well, that's because you said the same thing in a bunch of different ways, and I was like, I'm ready to respond.
Well, okay, but what I'm saying is that you think that the point of speaking is in order to get to the next step in the conversation.
Yeah, because once I understand something,
I don't think that way.
You just want to keep talking, even though you've already explained it, because you want to avoid the narrative. You don't want the progression of things to lead to a cohesive like through line. You want to keep.
You are projecting that on, in my opinion. You could be right.
I'm narrating.
But my thought process is that I have a thought, I say a thought.
Right. Like a dog.
Maybe. Dogs don't talk.
But they don't think narratively.
Sure. But if I also don't think narratively. Not often. I can be made to think narratively, but I'm not thinking like that.
Right.
So I'm saying the reason that you got frustrated just now, I wasn't even noticing. I didn't notice that you wanted me to move on.
All right. Well, then
until you yelled, "We get it," I didn't even think for a second that I was repeating myself. Because I wasn't saying the things in order to get somewhere.
But yeah, but I know you I could tell that the reason you kept saying the same thing but in different ways is because you didn't want to get somewhere.
I don't think that you're right about that. I think that you are intuiting that.
Well, the reason you're having
that.
reason that you're having this conversation about you're now deviating again from the point that I was trying to make, and we're going on this side tangent to talk about why I was frustrated, is because we don't want to talk about about you in this narrative way.
No, I'm not. I don't know what point. I didn't know that you were trying to make a point right now. That's not active in my mind.
Well,
at
I
all.
don't remember it either.
The reason that I said it is because my brain just told me out of nowhere that was a moment of reflection in itself. I'm engaging in a moment of reflection that very moment. That's why I felt like I had to say it just then, because I was like, I just noticed something, and I noticed myself noticing something. It's very rare.
There's never any okay, that's interesting, but there's never any out of nowhere. It can't be.
Sure, but I'm not being literal when I say out of nowhere. I'm saying it appears as if it is out of nowhere.
Okay.
As if usually inside of my brain, if I hear words, it's because I am making those words appear.
Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying though. I'm saying that your experience of it being out of nowhere, for me, I tried to contextualize the appearance of the thought within the rest of my narrative and the chronology and other experiences, the other emotions, the constellation of other things happening. I try to contextualize the appearance of the thought so that I understand why I had it and where it comes from.
How do you do that?
You have to stop and so definitely it is so when you said earlier that it's not something you're born with, I completely agree. Actually, I think that most of how we behave is not something we're born with. It's kind of like software.
We're modeled.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean that we're not built to be able to do it. But I think that you've developed in a way where you don't do it. And yeah, I think you might be like perfectly functional, it might not even be necessary,
sorry. I want to keep going. It is crazy how true it is, that realization. I'm noticing something and I'm always confused why this is happening. And the reason that I'm constantly confused whenever people are talking sometimes is because they keep bringing up past, they keep bringing up cause, effect. They're narrative thinkers. I've never thought about that before. That's fucking crazy. Because even in these sentences, you keep going back to it. But okay, so,
and that's why. Man, I just had an epiphany about talking to you in the past. And so, like right now, I am like I've worked on this skill like in these conversations, trying to. I am a really strong narrative thinker, and so a lot of people will like try to break the narrative, and I think a lot of people do it just because they don't want to talk about something. I don't think that you are necessarily avoiding anything specific. I don't know. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is, in the past, I remember talking to you. The first time I ever talked to you, I was like so exhausted after the conversation, and that's because I was completely letting you just pick the direction of the narrative, and I was trying to grab onto something, and I was just like so like it felt like I was like Spider-Man trying to like grab, like I was like you were the spider webs shooting at me across the city, and I was just trying to like I had no control, and I was Spider-Man. I'm trying to grab onto a building and stop. You know what I mean?
Like a horse. You're trying to ride a horse, the mechanical bull. Type analogy. Yeah, but the mechanical bull, actually I think the mechanical bull is a good analogy for like sort of convalescing it, which is that the human, while riding the mechanical bull, feels as if the mechanical bull is trying to rock it off. The mechanical bull has no thoughts. The mechanical bull is just doing what it does. It is not alive. It is not an intention-bound thing. It's designed. So like my actions when I'm conversing, I'm not thinking steps ahead. I don't know what your intentions are in the conversation. I don't know where I'm headed. I have a thought. I say a thought. Because I'm driven very much so by what I become excited about. I'm not thinking.
Okay,
steps
so
ahead.
so
I'm thinking one step ahead.
the next part of this conversation is the Dr. K part, and it is the part that I'm very wary of. But I'm going to tell you
Sure.
what it is, but I don't want to really go there. Okay, maybe in
Sure.
private. Maybe we're like maybe we can talk in
Put a
private.
name to the dark swamp, and we'll decide if we ever want to go into
Yeah,
it. But at
okay,
least
so
recognize the elephant in the room.
So with that context we've just built, okay, so you not so you're saying that you are just in the moment, like thing to thing, and you're not trying to connect them all to each other at the same time. And
yeah,
so I feel like that might be where you start talking about your childhood in a way like that becomes
it's unsupervised play.
That's an interesting thought, but
Like when I was a child, I played by myself. I didn't play with a person who told me that it's time to stop playing. I didn't play with a person who was attempting to use the playtime experience to engender a realization or a lesson or anything. I was just a child playing with toys in an empty room.
yeah, but
And I
when
had a lot of
but,
fun doing it.
Yeah, but hold on. When I was a child playing with toys in an empty room, you oh my god, you have no idea. Like it was just me in an empty room. I had factions of toys. I had the under the bed bad boys faction. I had the guys that are on the bookshelf faction, and then I tried to like have massive, complex, interwoven narratives where all the people have roles and jobs and different powers, and they would have wars, and they would I would create entire worlds of history and narrative in my bedroom all alone. And you're saying you didn't do that. So I'm not convinced that it is the fact of you being left alone. I think that it might have been that to contextualize all the things happening around you would have made you come face to face with something that was horrible. And that's why I'm saying it's Dr. K thing, because if you figured that out right now, it might be fucked up.
Do you think I care?
Yeah, but that's what they all say.
No. I'm saying I legitimately right now, I understand that you've got your feelings and your fears and your intentions and the things that you're bringing in because you're vocalizing them. But I don't care. So you have to take ownership of that and not think that you're being selfless. You're being selfish. You don't want to feel like you're a person potentially causing harm.
Yes. Yeah, actually, yeah. That's something.
But I don't care.
I know.
And also, like when it comes down to it, if your thought process, if the thing that you're currently thinking is that you're like, there's this thing that makes people a way that you think is good, but you think that I'm the exception to that thing, I'm also a threat to the principle that the thing is good in itself, because you're the same person that goes along with the idea that perhaps you should change the molar structure to include all the different variations of people, as opposed to use something that works for the majority of people and force the exceptions into the position.
I think that your way of being inhibits you from having deep intimacy. Although the way we're talking right now is pretty intimate.
In a way it doesn't.
And the way we're talking right now is pretty intimate, but I feel like I'm putting a lot of that into it.
Well, here, can I give you a couple of things that I've noticed from the past in conversations with this? One, the way I feel at the start and the end of relationships doesn't change. So if I'm dating somebody, the way I feel day one versus the way that I feel after a year, very little change. For them, massively different. Time moves slower for me. And I think that that's because of this narrow bandwidth that I seem to have compared to other people. Another one, I recently talked with my girlfriend about the panel that I did, the WIC panel where I had the AI harassment song. Did you see it?
I saw the song. Yeah, it was hilarious. It was a good extension.
I didn't at any point think that might hurt anybody's feelings. But a lot of people are calling me based, and they're saying, yeah, they deserve to hear that. And I was like, I wasn't thinking anything like that at all. And then my girlfriend was not happy about the panel. And I said, well, all the people on the panel are cool with me. I'm about to be on a panel this Friday with Wick. I talked with Brianna in the DMs, and everybody like has had, I don't know how Erudite feels, but Erudite barely got insulted in the thing. The two main people that got insulted vehemently in the song have no problem with me. And she was like, well, that doesn't matter. And then she brought up something I've never thought about once. Never had ever considered. But apparently this is a thing that a lot of people think about, which is that there was a chat watching. And I wasn't aware that there was a chat watching while I was having the conversation and when I played the song. I didn't even once, because I don't have the chat open when I'm on those things. I just go into the Discord, I talk to them.
I think that the way you are means that you are a person who is capable of catching lightning in a bottle and also smashing bottles and losing lightning.
Oh, for sure. But that's a separate thing too, which is that I have probably about 20.
Because if you could do that,
revolutionary to me, like life-changing ideas, and then I lose all inspiration.
Yeah. So if you could, that's different. What I'm saying is, if you could do the provocative thing that you didn't know was gonna be provocative, because you didn't contextualize it. And if you could do that consistently while contextualizing it within knowing there's an audience, now you're in control of lightning. But you can't control the lightning.
Yeah, that's one thing. I've never told a story before that I created myself. I can remember an event. I can tell the story. People tell me the thing that is emotionally compelling about it. I modify the story around their instruction, but I don't have control over it. I experience something, I talk about it, somebody says, wait, that was weird. I think about it, I construct the story around it, but I'm not constructing that story. But when people say things like, art is about telling a story, I'm like, you are smoking crack. You are high. It makes no sense to me. But then everyone's like, yeah, that's really compelling. And I'm like, you're sorry. Don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But then that's kind of what you're getting at, right? This idea that a person can put intention behind the way that they do things in order to evoke a result that they foresaw. What about the time that Tony got the story
and the context? Like, the context is what makes it a story. So connecting different things, like connecting the creating of the joke to how the joke makes people feel, to how the audience views the joke, and connecting those things makes it harder, because if you know how it's going to hurt people's feelings, it makes it harder for you to do it. If you know how it's going to make you look, it makes it harder for you to do it. And it makes it confusing to hold all those thoughts together and still have something compelling at the end that will like still do it. It's easier if you just go blindly in, but then you don't know what you're doing, so you can't be consistent. So
yeah, of course. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
You have to. So when I was having a little bit of spiel,
no.
So when I was,
let me write down the fucking thought before you keep talking. Let me write down the thought then, so I don't fucking forget it. Go.
Earlier when I was talking about reflection as a tolerance, so I'm doing the thing now. I'm doing the context. But earlier when I was talking about the reflection of developing a tolerance, it's only developing a tolerance and so that it is useful because, like I was saying, connecting all those things makes it harder because it becomes painful. And then you build the tolerance so that you can connect it and still do it and still figure out. So I know this is going to make this person feel this way. I know that the audience is going to see this way. And it's going to make me feel this way. It's going to look this way. And it's going to become a story that is told in this way. And like me doing this act becomes a story, and I'm thinking about how that story will be told. And the tolerance, like, it's, you become unable to see it when you become emotional about it, dysregulated. You become emotional, but once you become dysregulated, you can't see it. You have to become emotional without being dysregulated. And so the people that are the best at that process are the people who are able to be extremely emotional, but not dysregulated.
Okay. That's interesting to me. Let me think on that for a second. So what I wrote down really quick while you were typing, or you were talking, what I typed while because I was trying to like turn it into words that make sense to me.
Sure.
Temporal awareness, lens, autorial spirit. That's the nature of what a story is. You're describing, like, you're thinking about the beginning, the end, you're thinking about how a person will react to it. So that gives you more, because you're not just doing a thing. I've used this analogy with myself a long time ago. I wrote down about how a musician doesn't just play an instrument. They play an instrument, which plays the amplifier, which plays the room, which sets a tone, which creates the social patterns of the people in the audience. Metal is an act of making people mosh. Waltz is an act of making people waltz. When I'm on a stage as a musician, I am only thinking about the instrument. I've done stand-up before. And one main challenge with me with stand-up is I am just telling jokes, but I'm not thinking about how they make people feel. And I was told multiple times that my jokes were making people, they were like, that's too dark.
I like.
And I was like, what are you talking about?
I like thinking about that when I want to see your stand-up.
I can tell you a couple of jokes, but the one that people said was too dark was this is a fake story. I tried my best. It has no believability. And the fake story was something along the lines of, I was watching a pornography and I said, you oh my God, the stuff they put in these smut these days, it's unbelievable. I was watching this guy and he's jerking off over this lady's face and he's saying, eat my cum like it's your last meal. And I said, grotesque. Prison porn? What have I gotten myself into? And people said that was like dark, and I was like, that's just funny. But they were saying that there was something about like the idea of somebody, they were like experiencing like shame. They were thinking that I was talking about shame as an emotion. Like I was watching this porn that was so shameful. I was like, I never even thought about the emotion of shame. I thought eat my cum like it's your last meal is a hilarious punchline. What can I say to make it so that I can say that? But I was never thinking about what emotion it would invoke in the people.
I had that same experience. I was like, is he trying to say shame? And then I started smiling because that's just a funny thing to say, eat my cum like it's your last meal. But I did have like but I was able to engage with you on that level too.
Yeah. But you know a little bit more about me than a stranger.
No, I'm able to. It's not that it's you. It's just I'm able to. A lot of people are just unable to.
Other comedians were saying that it was too dark for them, though.
They're stupid. Well,
shocking.
It's not. It's not even like the. I mean, I've heard better jokes, but it's just a funny sounding line. Yeah. So this girl that I've been messaging from Tinder. Don't interrupt. This girl. Wait.
There's a punchline that I didn't say the final punchline.
Okay, 1 second. She laughs at me in the way that I just laughed at you. And I like that because the emotional context is not the funny part, but the way I know that the way I say something is funny, or something about what I'm saying is funny, and so to be laughed at in that way is like revealing or relieving. Sorry, I want to hear.
You're right. I'm multitasking against your best wishes, so you don't have to apologize. I think that I see what you're saying. There's like entertaining the frame of the other so that you can hear what they're actually trying to communicate, as opposed to just selfishly being yourself while they communicate and like stubbornly not, because like you know that I'm telling a joke, and when she's laughing at you, she knows that you're telling a joke, but some people will just like, you're trying to tell a joke and instead they're not willing to suspend their ego and like pretend to be in your mind.
No, actually, no. So with my example, it's I'm telling like an emotional thing, but also saying it in a way that I know is very self-deprecatingly honest, but not to be self-deprecating, but I know that it is funny fact or a funny way to word what I'm actually doing. And so I will just say it like that, and most people won't laugh at that. They will just stick on, like you were saying with the shame, they'll stick on that and they won't be able to enjoy the humor in it. And so I will,
because they're apprehensive the same way you were about like the thought that you had about the Dr. K thing, where it's like they're worried that they're enabling you to do negative self-talk and avoid the processing your shame by letting you communicate it in a way through humor. I think a lot of people are uncomfortable.
I feel it like it's. I feel like it's just
for that reason.
I feel like it's no. I feel like it's. I'm not talking about self-deprecating. I'm saying self-deprecating is like you. Like, I actually like. I'm saying I say things that like I don't mean to deprecate myself. I'm just admitting something that I don't have shame about. That is also funny, and I'm willing to live with the fact that I am a retard. You know what I mean? And so I will, yeah. And so it's not that I'm actually deprecating. I'm just unabashedly retarded.
I'm saying that while the reason, it's not because they don't have divine knowledge. They have an intuition. They have an inference of what they think you're experiencing, just like me. I didn't write this joke from a place of shame because I've never seen a prison pornography. And you can kind of tell, and that's why I said you know me a little bit better, I think, than some random stranger. My appearance, I feel like, is constantly deceiving people about things about me. Other people have multiple times taken setups as jokes as if they were true when I thought that they were obvious lies that were only there as a necessity to get to the punchline. But then sometimes I say something, it doesn't fit that context. Similarly, I think that people can get hung up on thinking that you're expressing shame and using comedy as a mask when it's actually that you're using that's cart before the horse. Your intention is to share something that was funny, and you are invoking the language of a person that has shame, even though you know you yourself don't have shame. Like, you could imagine a person getting on stage and saying, like a stand-up comedian getting on stage and being like, so I'm Mexican, or they'd be like, I'm Mexican, so you know it's small. Everyone's laughing, ha ha ha, tapas, am I right, ladies? Just a little sample. Wouldn't,
I'm saying like
people wouldn't actually laugh because they would think no one would say that unless they had a repressed insecurity about the size of their penis.
Yeah, well,
that's why people don't make those jokes.
That's
even if you're confident about your penis, you can't make those jokes because people won't laugh because it's an assumption that every non-black person is insecure about their penis.
I think that people laugh at these kind of jokes. It's just that, like, I think that they just don't. Okay, so like for me, if I would just say like, I would be like, I always wonder if the reason I have a small dick is because I'm Asian, I've always wondered that. It's not that I have a problem with my dick, but is it because I'm Asian?
Asian?
Yeah, it is. So it's like I know it's like I'm not insecure about the fact that I have a small dick. But it's
You're
funny
that it means that you might have Asian genes in you.
No, no. Let's say I'm actually an Asian guy, and I'm just.
I
so,
thought you were saying that you said it, and then you go up and stand up, and you're like, guys, I've got a small dick. I'm not worried about that.
Is it because I'm Asian though? Is it because I'm Asian, or do I just have a small dick? I don't know. So like,
yeah.
So that's the type of like it's sort of self-deprecating, but it's also it's like not actually self-deprecating. It's actually using myself like that. I'm unashamed of having a small dick, but like then using that to make fun of everybody that cares about.
Yeah. Sure. I can't. My brain is mostly, I'll say, it's mostly, my brain gives me jokes, it doesn't give me emotions. It does give me references, it does remind me of, like, it does tell me when things remind me of something else. It has associative frameworks, but it just doesn't have the emotions. Because right now, my brain is just repeating, your penis isn't small because you're Asian because your penis is small. It's the Regina George quote. My brain just recognized the mimetic structure that we could plug these random two intervals into. So I was just like, oh, obviously and that's just what my brain tells me. Because my brain is constantly trying to, I've got meme brain. I'm constantly trying to figure out new ways to merge ideas.
Maybe you're autistic. Maybe you're like an autistic savant.
If I'm autistic, it would shock me. There are a couple of things that would make sense and a couple of things that wouldn't. Number one is that I'm very intuitive about others' emotions, and I've never had issues speaking.
Autistic savant, and that's your savantism.
I've never had any linguistic issues. I didn't have any of the childhood like signifiers. It's not like my parents after the divorce, like my school did have counselors that were watching me and watching my behavior. It's not like they would have missed it in childhood.
Well, okay, so
feels like there's a lot of counterfactuals, but it's possible.
There is actually a link, a weird link between autism and BPD. Correlation.
Yeah, lack of self-concept.
Yeah. But there's just a correlation, like statistically, in some way, and
I think it's because if a woman is autistic, she'll be called BPD, and if a man is BPD, he'll be called autistic. It seems to be a social phenomena of whether or not that one shared symptom.
That's not what I was getting at.
An inculcating basis.
I was just trying to say. I was just trying to say that these things are not necessarily so black and white.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to say that you might be autistic in some. Like I think by my concept of psychology, it's perfectly fine by my concept of psychology to say that you are actually autistic, but not in all ways.
Yeah, like I'm an autistic octoroon.
Yeah,
1/8 autistic,
yeah,
7/8
but
white.
I was thinking like Orion, the constellation Orion, is autism, and you're
thinking about Arian too.
You're Orion, but you don't have the belt or like the sword or whatever, but you have some of the stars, so you still have the stars of Orion.
I see what you're saying. And there is this like weird thing with how the DSM and how we categorize and understand.
The rest of the world does it the way I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's this topology or something where you have to meet a threshold of aspects, and you're saying you might have aspects and aspects. See what my brain's telling me. Where it's you can use the word at minimum as an analogical frame for explaining features of uniqueness, even if it doesn't mean that it necessitates a certain treatment plan or something, which the DSM is all about treatment plans. It just doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sure,
yeah, you don't
maybe.
need a treatment plan, no.
Can't he just be Audi HD? Listen, I'm not going to drive an Audi. I don't care whether or not it's in 1080p, interlaced or not. No, we're not doing the Dr. K show here, bro. I don't care about diagnostic. I don't even know if autism is real.
I think that you need
I don't
to...
care.
Okay, let's take
I think there's a certain type of autistic you can't deny.
Whoa. Okay, I need you to do this with me. I need you to...
out of the fucking chest.
I need you to do this with me, okay? Close your left nostril. I mean, your right nostril.
My right nostril? Okay.
Breathe in. Breathe out with your... Close the other one.
But that's the...
And then you gotta... And you do that 10 times fast, and that'll save your life.
No. Why would I do
Dr.
that?
K literally does that shit.
Oh my god, I don't want to hear about these fucking Ayurvedic freaks. Listen, I'm done. You can smoke meth and call it a fucking religion. I'm fucking done. I don't care about your fucking fire aspect, water aspect. Would you consider yourself something of a firebrand? Get fucking shoved. I don't care about this like magic system as...
Oh yeah, he
Leslie's
was
been
talking about like, oh yeah, I'm
it.
like an air energy, and like, you know, that makes
Yeah,
me have a
I think
longer
of
face.
Fire air.
I have a longer face, so
Yeah.
that means I'm air or whatever, you know, like...
A longer, yeah. My god. That shit's so funny too, because imagine if they started going into there's some not so liberally acceptable features of Ayurveda that he doesn't bring up. There are some things that the Western world would not be okay with. Let's just say that there are certain caste systems that exist in certain parts of the world that would not be accepted. But we can move on from talking about the Dr. K. It's funny to meme on Dr. K though. I might watch that interview between him and the guy that was grilling him. Destiny watched it, and I turned it off because I was like, I could watch this without hearing Destiny's commentary. And then I saw that Destiny apparently talked with Dr. K, and that's the reason he was doing that, to like prep for having him on an episode or some kind of shit like that. It's gonna be very interesting to see what are essentially because Destiny does seem to be like, there's a type of person that I fall into, right? Certain detached frame, able to work very hard, able to suppress emotions, but also maybe to a certain extent, it's not even that able to, it's just like literally has lived in such a way that doesn't come up on the radar.
But
it's
Destiny,
like temperamentally
I think
integrated.
Destiny is able to weaponize narratives in a big way.
Oh yeah, he's more of a... He's not like me in that way. But I was saying like there's a certain type of person who is very resistant to that shit.
Fire type.
When somebody walks up to you and says some esoteric garbage, and you're like, have you ever considered that you should cut your toenails? Have you considered maybe that there's a little too much dirt under your nails right now? Why are we talking about the fucking moon and the sea? Why are we talking about the tides? Why are you making me cycle air through my right and left hemisphere and then justifying it later with a science like a study in order to make it more palatable? It's weird. It feels like a weird game of cat and mouse.
I find the nostril thing fun. It's fun.
Fun?
Yeah. Doing something like that. It's like,
it reminds me of like a bidet.
Yeah.
We don't do that here.
Yeah. It's very...
The reason you like a bidet is the reason you like air cycling.
I would love a bidet. Well, it's just such... I'd
rather get in a shower than do a bidet.
It'll work in the same way aromatherapy will work. It is... aromatherapy it stops working. If aromatherapy ruins your ability for aromatherapy to work. A lot binaural beats they can work and then they stop working when you use the no, not in a binaural beats. That's not the one I'm sure that there's something, but what is it? ASMR.
Like
ASMR. Okay. The first time I ever heard ASMR, it gave me brain tingles.
Big goon.
It gave me brain tingles, and then it stopped, and then I later learned that like by exposing yourself to ASMR, you literally completely desensitize yourself to it, and it'll stop working. And so it's just a strange experience. The nostril thing is a strange experience that will give you a really weird, you're putting your body in a different. You're focusing on your body in a new way, and it'll put you in a new mind state.
Novelty.
Yeah, novelty. It's the novelty. Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
There's something cool about the novelty, man.
There was a point. I've tried breaking away from it. I have a long-standing relationship with asceticism, where there's like an intuition towards it for me, where I've said many times that every new food chat's getting ready to say autism, but it's not. I love eating new foods, but for a long time I felt a lot of guilt because I was worried that by exposing myself to new foods, new experiences, new sensory, unique flavors and such, that I was making it that I would be, by percentage, less satisfied with more sustainable, affordable, cheap forms of food. Where my thought is, if you eat lobster, that's 1 point away that rice will satisfy you. So what if you eat lobster, steak, chicken, you eat all these things, and then suddenly you can't be satisfied with rice and beans? And I used to think it would have been so much better if from the point I was born till the point that I died, I had never eaten anything other than rice, pinto beans, and maybe like, I don't know which vegetable it'd be, like an onion, and then some kind of like maybe broccoli. Like inside of my head, I have this efficiency principle. I can go into robot mode. Burrito?
Yeah, a burrito. Make a burrito with all that.
Sure. But inside of my head, the thought was like, now I've pushed against it because I do know that I think there's something about our physiology that becomes dissatisfied with the same flavor because there's like a nutrition thing or some science. Who cares? The whole point to me though is like, I used to have this apprehension about new experiences.
I had an apprehension. I used to have an apprehension like 4 or 5 years ago for like a stint of like a year. I had learned something about prions that was not necessarily true, and it informed my dietary decisions for like a year. So I believed that by exposing yourself to like exotic meats, like let's say that you get the chance to eat like, I don't know, penguin meat, whatever the fuck.
I mean, this comes from the cannibalism stuff in some media.
And so,
they're like,
yeah, and so
you'll become a cannibal by accidentally eating human meat. Like that's happened in episodes of cartoons and shit.
No, I thought you were gonna go into the prions. The thought came from how we got prions because of cannibalism, but it wasn't the eating of the human meat that. It was because there was another factor involved. I don't even remember, but I got proven wrong.
What?
Yeah. So.
Yeah. What? What's the word you said? Prions.
Prions.
What's prions?
Prions. Am I using the right word?
I've never heard this word in my life.
Yeah, prions. Okay, so prions are like a tissue disease that you can get, and cannibals got this a lot, and so it will literally turn your tissues, your protein tissues, and they're like all over you like have them in your body like and stuff. If you catch a prion disease, your brain will turn into a sponge. You will die. It's like certain death. So I got it into my head that if you were to, because of the stories that I had heard about how you catch them, and how people who were cannibals caught them, I was under the impression that exposing yourself to new weird proteins from new animals increases your likelihood of getting prions. So I was like, no new meat. I'm never gonna try any new meat for like a year. And I learned that there was actually other factors to why the cannibals caught the prions and stuff like that. And
something about the human meat was not palatable to
something
humans.
About like their inbreeding or something too, related then to eating the human meat.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've never heard of that in my life. Didn't know. I sort of assumed that eating human meat didn't have any health issues.
You want to experience fear, learn about prions.
I probably wouldn't be that scared. I'm not looking to eat human meat, so I'm not like thinking like, shucks.
No, it's a prions are a it's a disease of the protein.
Told me, yeah. So misfolded proteins that are infectious, that spread through the cells in your body, and can kill your brain cells. Yada yada.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. I mean, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die eventually to something that I'm not gonna see coming, whether it's a truck or a disease. I'm already maximally terrified of death. I don't think that any individual thing would shock me. I'm not moved by individual stressors very often.
Well, this is related to our previous conversation.
In what way?
You're not putting it within the narrative of your life and your death.
Yeah, that's true. I've noticed there are a lot of people, they don't just think... It's not just that something's scary. They, like, envision a future where that thing would kill them, and they fear that that's going to come true.
Well, they're just using that. That becomes one possible story of your life that you can predict. You know
what's crazy? So just getting onto the topic. Back on. I've never once had a 5-year plan or anything like that. I've always thought that was super fake and that everyone was faking. And I only recently realized that people do, like, when they say that they have a goal in life, or they have long-term goals, that they're not just conforming to a sort of like professional standards, answering a quiz that makes you seem like you're a forward-thinking individual. They truly have something that they're like, I want that. I'm all of my decisions around that. The closest thing I ever had, or the closest things I've ever had, are your base animal needs: shelter, food, water, sex, and even then, I'm not thinking of it narratively, but I have to say to other people, in order to get what I want, I have to, like, communicate through that frame. So, like, I have to say it then, but I don't know what I'm doing. And often, if a person asks me for sex, I don't want it. Or if a person says, we're going to have sex this day, or same thing with food.
It says, I like the metaphor I used at the very beginning, where it's like, your way is like being a machine. And my way is like being a woman.
I disagree. I think that we're the opposite.
Man and woman?
I think I'm more like a woman than you in this respect, in that it needs to sneak up on me. The desire needs to, like, find me, and I need to not see it coming.
Oh, well, I was about to say that I need sex to be within a narrative to enjoy it, just like a woman. Okay, women love romance. They love the reading smut. Like men, they just look at a picture. I used to be like that, but I need the you know the meme about leftist memes having way too much text.
Yeah,
that's what I cannot. Just an image is not. I need like a porn with like a caption, but then I need a lot of. I like if it has like a whole novel attached to it. That's what I like.
It Was that analogy that you just used one that you used because of you, or were you using that analogy because I said that I have meme brain and you were like, the best point of reference I can use for the idea of something that has an exhaustive amount of detail is a meme with too much text?
No, it's because somebody had given this description of me before. I'm a leftist.
Oh, okay, you're thinking of your path.
Yeah,
I was just like, did you just use that? I'm like, it just seemed like a forced analogy, but it's not forced. It is from your past. I need there to be no words, no thought, fully animalistic, and it's usually triggered by smells. Sexual desire, hunger, thirst. It needs to come up on me non-linguistically. If it's brought upon me as an idea, it does not woo me. I need to, like...
That's why they call it pussy, because it comes up on you like a fucking predator.
Yeah. I feel like the only time that I become hungry is if I'm not thinking about food. The only time I become horny is if I'm not thinking about sex. Thinking about sex is the least sexy thing that there is. So that's why narratives about sex, first off, I'm just disgusted because I don't want to hear about other people having sex. I've talked about this before. I hate R&B. I hate rap because there's always like a fucking like 60% chance they're going to talk about their opinion or their practice of sex. I don't want that. I also don't want music that sounds like you would have sex to it. I don't have sex to music. I think it's really creepy. I don't get when people do that. I don't talk at all. I don't think at all when I have sex. It is like something takes over the body and replaces the self. The brain recedes, and then the sort of animal, the id, if that's the classic analogy, takes the wheel, the bestial formation. And that knows how to fuck. This doesn't know how to fuck. And this is also why I find it weird when people have like kinks and that they're able to have sex because of the kinks, because those are so divorced from my frame, right? For me, I can like, and I have done by request, beat a woman.
I just think that you are unable to contextualize things because of some form of trauma that you're avoiding. Like I can't repeat it enough. Like I think that you need to limit things to single-minded, in your inability to enjoy things. Unless it's not that you're unable to enjoy, you're creeped out by, you're avoidant of, you are disgusted by, and I think that is because there's something there that is haunting you.
I don't know why you get that sense, but my interpretation is just that there is something nullifying on both ends between emotion and cognition for me. When I'm in the cognitive frame, emotions are weaker. And when I'm in the emotional frame, cognition is weaker. And in a significant way. And that balance, this like co-presence of those things simultaneously, that soft area, that transitional area, it switches from one to the other in a blink of an eye. When I become angry, I become enraged. I'm not thinking. I will speak. But I will not be thinking about what I'm saying. I will be expressing the emotion in pure. I'll say something like, I need to be murdered. I should kill myself. I need to drive into traffic. I need to slit my throat. I'll say all kinds of like self-violent things, because I have learned that the only thing that is okay to subject your anger onto is the self, because you own that. You're allowed to. Now, other people disagree. I had girlfriends before, like I used to beat myself. I've stopped ages ago. But I used to beat myself as a coping mechanism, because if you punch yourself hard enough in the leg, as a person that becomes emotionally overwhelmed, you will notice the pain and it will pull you out of the emotion. It's very classic. People do this with razor blades and shit all the time. And that is the type of like biohack that I would be able to do in order to bring myself back to cognition. But I don't have the type of agency that people seem to have. My emotions are just so strong when they take me over.
That's
and
basically like
non-existent.
Every single thing you're saying has absolutely no contradiction with what I'm saying, and just makes me feel more certain that you have you're the strength of your emotions. I was saying that if you were to try to be, if you for some, it's not going to be the case, but for some reason you're like, I need to be like Smeth here. Okay, I need to experience life like you, and you're dead set on it, and you're like, I need to dive right in. I feel like you would be overwhelmed with so much fucking pain and suffering, and I think that there is like so much that you would rather beat yourself up than to experience that, and that comes from whatever you experienced in your childhood. And I think that you were unable to live in that pain, so you have to avoid it, and so you go directly for the other direction now. Instead of having to beat yourself up to get out of it, you just go right away from it.
I can agree in partial, because I do think when I see people, there are many thoughts that people, when they express them, my initial knee jerk is to say, don't you have shit to do? People will be like, I don't know, there'll be something like, talked with my girlfriend earlier, and she said something along the, so she's going through her own like surgery stuff, and I don't say that to be dismissive, I say it to not share too much detail. I think it's very serious and I care about it a lot, but I'm doing this house repair, and she brought up that she was worried that if she prolonged the date of her upcoming surgery, that I might feel bad that she did it, because she was worried that I was accelerating the rate of me doing things at the house because of that, and if she did, it would feel as if as she had failed to hold up her end of some plans. And the main thought that I had the entire time was, why are you thinking so much? If you want to know how I would feel about that, why don't you just ask me the question? Why are you spending all this time thinking and worrying and being like, well, okay, in this frame?
Well, I agree with what you just said, but also I agree that that's a concern that I think would be a completely reasonable concern. But you should communicate, of course.
Well, I'm saying the second that would tickle your brain at all, number one, I don't know how that would tickle your brain. It's just not a thing.
It would definitely tickle my brain, for sure.
It would tickle your brain. But like, let's say that it tickles your brain. The first thing that I would do, I would stop having the thought and I would ask the question. Because and it's the thing I was talking about before, which is I do believe in this idea of an emotional privacy, that if you ruminate and you theorize and you hypothesize about what's going on and what feelings another person's having, instead of asking them, you're trying to get away with learning more about the depth of them without asking them if they're okay with that, which is fine if they're a total stranger. But I think is a bad idea if you're close with somebody, because then it will create a fissure where the person is not aware of how much you've thought about what their internal experience is. And it will make it so that there's a weird like thing going on where they've thought more about you've thought more about them than they.
I want my partners to have thought more, like to have different opinions about me than I have about myself, because that's so useful. That's intimacy. That's intimacy. That's true intimacy. To both be having different opinions about the other person and sharing them, and that creates that's powerful in
an invited environment. Absolutely, of course.
Yeah, which is your intimacy. No, the invited. I'm not done. Invited in. But what you just said was it's you're better to do that to strangers. But I'm saying no, you're better to do. You should be doing that to the people you're close with.
No, it's not that it's better to do because it's good to do with strangers. It's okay to do with strangers, regardless of context, because you don't interact with strangers. So it has no effect on your relationship. You can speculate all you want about characters, famous people, doesn't matter. I can right now ask myself, did Walter Cronkite drink a Diet Coke every day because he wanted to suck dick, or because it was an efficient way to get like a stimulation on his tongue? It's probably the latter. But maybe the Freud cigarette thing is a legitimate, like when we're talking about like oral fixation shit, it's like, well, Freud came up with the idea. So like, that's a fine avenue of thought. But if I was Sigmund Freud's son and I was having a thought where I'm like, does my dad smoke cigarettes because he wants to suck a cock? I would feel like by thinking that and not being willing to open up about the fact that I'm asking those questions in my mind to him, that there would be a distance. There's a growing...
There's supposed to be a distance between you and your parents' sexuality, though.
Okay. How about this? Your partner.
Then
Let's make it not the...
Okay, so if you had that thought about your partner, you should be able to talk about it with them. I don't see what's the issue. It's with it when it's...
No,
you gave examples that were stupid, so like...
You are not listening to what I'm saying, though. I'm saying if you don't ask it, it creates distance. You need to be willing to ask it if you're going to think about it. That's the whole thought. If you're willing to think about it, you should ask it.
No, I don't agree. So like then it go back to like the dad, then maybe you shouldn't. It would be bad for your relationship with your dad, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. Like, so like maybe you can ask it, but your dad shouldn't tell you. I think that...
Your standard, yes. Depending on the age. If you're a child, definitely not. I think that, but once you're like 20, it's okay to ask, Dad, do you smoke cigarettes so much because you're a repressed homosexual?
I think
that's a totally fair question for you to ask and for him to answer.
I disagree. I think it's not fair for him to answer ever, and I think that it's fair for you to ask when you're 25, and it's outrageously fair for you to ask when you're 10, because when you're 10, like you can ask anything. Yeah.
I'd be shocked to know. Well, I guess if you were the son of Sigmund Freud, you would have learned about oral fixation because he probably would have brought it up. But no, I hear you. I guess the thought I'm having...
Well, yeah, but you're giving like this weird, complex, convoluted example, but you could give like a better one. Like why do you always side with mom? Why do you always side with mom every time she persecutes me for crazy shit just to get some fucking stress off of her chest? Why do you always side with her? Even though I see it in your eyes, you look at me from the corner of your eyes because you know that it's wrong. Why do you side with her? Why do you fucking side with her every time? And you ask him that. There's no right answer if you're right. But you should be thinking that if you're the kid. What you're supposed to not, you're just supposed to think that that everything that happens is always, no, you're supposed to be questioning your environment, questioning what is going on in the heads of the people around you is important and healthy.
I don't think that that's, I think that is, I agree with you, but because I don't see the father and the son as equals. And I guess that you agree with me too, for that reason, where let's say that you were, so from the perspective of the son, yeah, you can think about that totally fine because your dad's not your friend. You can think about anything.
If it was your friend, if your friend is always like, so let's say that you are a streamer.
I'm speculating about the internal world of my friend and I'm not willing to bring it up and ask them directly, I think that it drives a rift.
Yes.
I think that you owe your friend, if you're going to constantly think about that stuff, if you're transfixed on it, you owe your friend an admission that you're thinking about it and that you want to know.
No, I don't think you owe it to them. I think that if there is...
You owe it to yourself.
Wrong. I think that
wrong.
Are you gonna fucking, if you were gonna think about it, if there's absolutely nothing you think it is your imperative to think about it and to understand what is happening around you. If you are unable to tell them, that is on them. If you don't tell them because you're a coward, then that means you're a coward. It wasn't because you thought it. The problem wasn't you thinking about it. The problem is you being a coward. If you being afraid to tell them because they won't listen to it and they will shut you down and be cruel to you because you told them, that is on them. Either it is you're a coward or it is they are an asshole. The problem was never that you had the thought.
I don't see it the same. I see it that when you have experiences inside of a relationship that only one person has, it means that the nature of the relationship is becoming more divorced in the minds of the two people. So you are seeing it differently. You are bringing different energy into the relationship than the other person, and you deserve. I think you owe them an update unless you feel like you're unsafe, and this is the important part. And then the reason that it makes it a good thing because you're distancing the distance is a good thing because you feel unsafe. And then if you're on the precipice where you're like, I'm gonna have to decide to like find a new amount of distance, you're not really friends at that point. Not as friendly as you were before. You're less trusting.
I'm
like,
saying,
that's
yeah,
the
but
reason that
nothing you said contradicted anything I said. I'm saying that
that's what I'm saying.
I'm
I
saying
don't
the
think
rift.
that we disagree.
The rift. Well, you did.
You're
You said
yelling as
you
if
did.
we disagree.
You did
but I
say
don't
you
think
just
do.
did say that we don't see it the same, and now you're saying we don't disagree.
We don't disagree on that point.
I think so. Yeah, but you didn't interact with the thing we disagree. The thing we disagree. I think that the thought that you're having that is different from what they think about themselves is not the problem. The problem is I
don't agree with the cowardice thing. I think that it is smart in some circumstances, and in those circumstances, then you're supposed to stay private and you're supposed to come distant. And in the instances where you're not,
sure.
I don't think that it's so different to say that you owe them not being a coward, or you owe asking them, versus you saying that it's an issue of cowardice. I think we're saying the same thing there.
Sure,
with
but when you
different perspective of virtue.
But when you say that in some times it's smart, like I agree, sometimes it's smart not to tell them. Then how can it say, if you can in one hand say that it's smart not to tell them, but on the other hand say that, excuse me, if you have these thoughts that you owe it to them to tell them.
Imprecision of language. I mean, I will say that, and maybe imprecision or a lack of opening up the frame to the hypothetical of where it is in your best interest and maybe necessary to be protective. Because I was thinking of a circumstance where you are fully friends and they are not doing something that makes you feel threatened. I never thought about the idea of something that you were scared to ask them. I thought of it instead from the frame of something that you're not scared to ask them. You just don't want them to know that you're thinking about it. You could call it fear, but not fear for safety, but more like kind of the way that cheating is. You don't.
Oh yeah. Well, I just don't have, I want everybody, I wish that I could, every fucked up thought that I have about everyone around me, I always wish I could tell them. So we just don't have the same attitude.
Well, I just do tell them. Or I publicly announce it and then they hear it through that. But I don't hold that stuff back. I don't keep it private.
I don't hold most of it back.
Unless I'm suppressing the thought line for the means of privacy.
Yeah, but
which
you don't.
Sometimes it is one of those things where I'm like, that's none of my business.
Yeah, but yeah,
and
so yeah, I don't.
I'm thinking about it is doing nothing to aid me, because all it's going to do is create a rift between me and that person, unless I genuinely think maybe that my friend is
what you just yes, exactly. So what you just described is understanding the reality that is happening between you and another person will create a rift. So the only way to maintain the friendship is to be delusional about what is fucking happening. I think it's insane.
No, because you're talking about something different than the rift. I agree with you that there will be a rift, but I think that speculation creates a bigger rift. There's like 3 tiers to this or something. Like the smallest rift is to just not be thinking the invasive thought, which I think you don't recognize how innocent I'm talking about the thoughts. I'm not saying like they're doing something and they're holding something from me, so then I'm thinking about that. I'm saying like literally, like, what if I were to think, I'm going to try thinking about something about you that I have not thought about before and have not communicated, and then I'm going to try and do it privately, and then I'm going to ask you it, and it will feel different. Something like, I'm thinking about it now. Look at the camera. Were you molested?
No.
I was thinking about whether or not you've been molested before. I was looking in your eyes and trying to think about whether or not you've been molested before. If I did that for weeks and I was unwilling to just ask you, if I was like thinking about it compulsively, I would think that that would create an emotional rift between the two of us. Because every time that I come to you, you kind of have a feeling that I'm thinking, like I'm asking questions, I'm probing for information. You're like, why does he keep asking me what my relationship with my mom?
This is a failure. This is a failure of the very thing that we were talking about in the first place. So my immediate thought is, why are you stuck on if I was molested for weeks? It's not the fact that you were thinking about it for weeks that is the issue. It is why are you focused on whether or not I was molested?
You're saying that if I started asking that, I should dive into metacognition, where I'm asking myself, why am I?
Yeah, so you are avoiding the act of thinking about it because it creates a rift, but it doesn't create a rift if you don't avoid the act of thinking about it, but then you are self-critical about why you're thinking about it.
Oh, I'm not critical about why.
I know you're not. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying that you have to be.
I think that I asked you, and it was the first one that came to mind because of your relationship with Lav and Mr. Girl.
If I was molested?
Yeah, the molested thing, because then it would imply, do you have like a sister or something? There could be some kind of thing where like maybe like your sister got molested and you have some kind of thing inside of your head where you're like, why was she molested and not me? So then you're thinking about, because people always talk about Mr. Girl being a manipulative and boundary crossing person. If you see that happening with Lav and not happening with you, you'll be jealous in the same way that a child whose sister got molested might be jealous.
Fascinating. No, I know.
But that's where the inculcating thought came from, where I was like, what could I think about? What could I start imagining with Smeth right now? And I have to reach into past experiences. I wouldn't think about it for weeks, frankly, which might be a feature.
Go ahead, baby. Go ahead. Think about me getting
symptomology for me to want to.
Think about me getting molested for weeks.
You want me to think about that for weeks? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you have to.
Can't do that for you. And I don't owe you that. You know what? That reminds me, when I was a kid, one time, me and 3 friends, we were walking across a pond, the side of a pond, and there were like these really thin bamboo shoots that happen in America, Midwest, but they aren't really bamboo probably. I don't know what they are. They're really thin ones. You could pick them up and you could swing them like sticks. They would break. They were never strong enough that anything would happen. And we were probably the only time as a child that we ever talked about girls. Probably the only time I talked about girls up until the point that I had already had sex. I think about it. But we, it's so funniest thing I can think of from childhood. We promised one another that we would dream of the others kissing our respective crushes. So like I have a crush on Rachel. My 2 friends are then promising that in their dreams, if Rachel is there, they won't kiss Rachel. I will kiss Rachel in their dreams.
This wasn't your dad you had this... This wasn't...
No, it has nothing to do with my dad.
Okay. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired.
I said friends, not boys.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Why would it be my dad? I'm just kidding. I have seen my dad's penis.
Yeah, promising your dad that you will imagine him kissing.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking
Dad,
about?
I know that you and Mom are divorced, but in my dreams, you guys still kiss.
Yeah. And I will imagine you kissing that girl, that cute girl that you like. I'll imagine you kissing her.
No, I never. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But no, I remember that, and I think about how that's just like the craziest possible. But I think we were just like saying, like, it was just like what we thought a friend would do is that we would set the intentions of caring about the other person's desire to be with the person they're with to the same degree that because you dream about kissing your crush. You should dream about your friends kissing their crushes. Because that's what it means to be a real friend.
Narcissistic.
To ask them to do it, yes. But to say that you would do it for them, not narcissistic.
Codependent.
Yeah, I don't think that it was like I'm talking really young. So yeah, probably not the healthiest relationships because I'm like freshly out of a divorce. One of them was one of them also my dad is having sex with his mom, and then the third one's Mormon, the worst of all.
The middle one is probably the main one.
What do you mean? The one that's experiencing the worst, like the most?
No, your dad having sex with another kid's mom, and then you saying that that they should imagine you, or whatever.
I don't think that the order of events matches that, but I think this is before that my dad was having sex with her actually.
Well, maybe you guys manifested it in like a Bloody Mary.
By being friends, yes. By being friends, my dad met his mom. We manifested it at least through that, by becoming closer, and then like we became closer through saying stupid shit to each other. For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, like, I guess setting a precedent that our boundaries with what our lives looked like, we're not like he wasn't gonna say, "Your dad shouldn't fuck my mom anymore." On top of her Jerry Garcia blanket.
Yeah.
You're really drained.
Yes. I've been trying for the past 10 minutes to kind of end it.
Didn't notice. Okay. Sorry about you being tired, buddy. Can I ask you really quick? One last thing so that we get to it. We did actually do the classic thing of going to option 2. You were correct. It derailed a lot of it. I have a curiosity. How do you know what the triggering instance for an emotion is? How do you know where it stemmed from if it's delayed?
Oh, well, like I was saying before with you thinking about me getting molested, and I was saying how it's not the fact that you're thinking about it for a week that's the problem. It's why are you thinking about it for a week? Because like that's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. So like you that
how do you answer that question?
Knowing the source, you will have an epiphany maybe, and you realize, oh shit, it's because of this.
When I ask myself questions,
and then you
about my own emotions, that doesn't happen. When I ask it about
whatever. But what I'm saying, and what I'm saying is, like, yeah, just saying, describing something as an epiphany doesn't explain anything. I'm trying to explain something else. I'm saying that, that is an example of something that might happen. You have an epiphany, and you realize something like, oh shit, you connect these two dots. You realize these two things might be related, and then that helps you think about it more, and then you move forward. But then you realize you're totally wrong, and it was this other thing. And then you keep doing it.
I understand that it's
it is like you're writing a script, and you're trying to put you ever see those like a wall comes towards you, it's got a shape of human body, and you put your like body like this so that like it's like a game show thing.
The Japanese show.
Yeah. And so like your body fits through the hole. It's like that, and you keep trying to cut a hole, and eventually you get it closer and closer, and then it actually fits. And you get better at cutting the hole too. It's like a skill.
I'm going to reiterate the question but I am going to make an addendum, which is that I hear what you're saying, and that part I understand, the broad scale of the process. But I'm saying, how do you cut a single hole, the first hole to begin with?
Okay, here's the process. It wasn't about me, it was someone else, but I was thinking about Marilyn Manson and why his music started to suck. Okay. Most of it. He's got those like 3 albums that are like amazing, and then it just kind of drops off. And then I was thinking, I heard him say that, oh, I'm spiritual. I'm a spiritualist. And I was like, the fucking goth girls, they got to him. They poisoned his brain. It was the goth girls. That's a theory.
Too much pussy. Yeah.
He was connecting with the tarot card goth girls.
It's because he wasn't retaining semen anymore.
It was that he was connecting with the tarot card goth girls, and he wanted to relate to them, and he got this the spiritualism stuff, and that is the antithesis of his whole thing, being the using of the Christian like ideology and contradict like and being like the antichrist thing. Him being spiritualist contradicts all that. It undermines all of his value. He just becomes a nothing.
Yeah,
And so okay, but that is one theory that I had that was the original theory. Okay, then I learned some more things.
When
no,
that started
no, but that was a theory that was helpful and I thought was interesting. Then I learned some more things, and I learned that at the time that his music dropped off for me, he had become incredibly jaded with the music industry. And you can hear it in the music leading up to it, where he's talking about he's so many really songs that are really powerful to me. But what the lyrics are is, you're never gonna change the world. You like, it's all nothing. Like, I can literally tell you all to go kill yourself, and it won't do shit. It's meaningless. That that was like a big theme in like some of those songs. Like,
yeah,
and he's literally he literally plays. He's like taunting you to kill yourself because he doesn't believe you will. And he's trying to prove to him. It's like that's how like dark. That's a place that's so dark. And so now I'm like, okay, so it's because he had a great vision, and then he lost it because he believed that it was impossible to achieve his vision. He couldn't affect others in any way, so he just lost all heart. And that was a theory that I had. Now I've got a new theory, which I think is my most accurate theory yet, and that is because he dived headfirst into because he always dives headfirst into being provocation, and it was that he decided to tell everybody that he had great parents, and I think it was a farce. I think it was an absolute lie. And the things I've heard him say about his parents with a smile sound like shit.
He backed down because he didn't do that for no reason. He did that because there was all this media pressure about him literally being Satan. He got scared. No, I think it wasn't to get scared. I think he wanted to piss people off. So if they all think he's Satan, he's like, I had great parents, haha. And so I think he was trying to freak everybody out even more. You could end up like me, Marilyn Manson, and have great parents. But he was lying. And so, but thereafter, his parents would follow him around on tour. And he was talking. I've heard him say like weird shit about his dad, always with this fucked up smile. Like, oh, my dad, he loves the young ones, like talking about like groupies and shit. And I'm just like, this is not the relationship you should be having with your fucking dad. Sounds like your parents fucking suck, and you've been lying about it. And so as soon as he started lying to himself, and everyone else he had great parents, then he fucked his own brain up, and that's what I think happened. But I think all of these narratives are actually true. Every single one of them is probably some truth to it. Him becoming spiritual, him becoming jaded with the music industry, and him lying to himself about his childhood and his parents, which made him dissociate from himself. I think all those things are actually correct narratives, and they all played into it. So there is never any. There might be more than one right answer, and it's just a process. So there's an example that I'm going to respond to this as an individual thing, because I just realized just now as you said the sentence that this wasn't just a random tangent, which is not a complaint from me. I'm constantly throughout this conversation realizing that when you're talking, something I've never thought about before is that you're trying to communicate a point and you're using something as an example. I'm like, my mind is being blown because I've never thought that way. I think that, so yes, there's a concession there. There's a concession about truth, and if when you're a provocateur, you're supposed to, instead of responding to pushback with concession, you're supposed to respond to it with an equal or greater measure of pushback, as close as to, like, it's supposed to be, he gave up the game. Somebody volleyed a ball back at him, and instead of spiking it back and letting the game get more intense and more intense, that's why I called it fear, backing away. Now it's a meta fear. It's not an individual fear like, oh, I'm going to get assassinated. But it's like one of those things where it's like the act got too deep for him. Like if somebody commits themselves to a bit, like take Sam Hyde or something. Sam Hyde pivoting towards, in his streams, playing less of a character is him committing less to the bit. And he was only allowed to do that after the iDubbbz documentary because it was like the ultimate showing that he can commit to the bit so deeply that it can make someone else into a rube. And once he got to the final boss of committing to the bit, now with his live streams, he can share a bit of his own personal stuff and he can say silly Billy Jew, yada, yada. Now, take that same analogy with Marilyn Manson. He's singing that he's the Antichrist on stages. He might have thought that he got to the final boss, but what you're saying in some ways, that the final boss probably was his parents.
Yeah.
The first thing that he was in oppositional relationship with.
Yes.
The thing that he was being rebellious against.
And so he started rebelling. He rebelled against the media by saying that his parents were good parents, and by doing that, he gave up the fight against his parents. So he lost the fight.
He himself in a contradiction.
Yeah.
And that's what's so funny. It's like I've talked about this before because me and Rezi got in this philosophical disagreement. He's almost got sort of like, strangely, as much as he's got this like occult Jew thing. Not to be rude, like literally just like Jewish occultism as his like spiritual brand, he has like a weird Hegelianism. He believes this idea that people are implicitly good, and I'm a little bit more of an absurdist. I was just like, I think the only thing that people are is self-negating. Whatever they are, they don't want to be seen for it. Whenever somebody feels like someone's got them pinned down, when somebody's figured them out, that's the biggest fear of anybody, is being figured out, being fully understood, because it means then that you're so well defined that you're smaller.
I don't see it that way, but
well, I think you do, and the only reason I would say that I think you do is that you do all of this spelunking. You do all of this self-discovery and denying of the more obvious answers. And people try to say you're thinking too hard sometimes when you're doing the sort of like emotional archaeology that you do on your streams. And I think the reason that people want to say that is because they want to say that they know all about you. You're like, you're not so special, Smeth.
But I think that you can't know all of... I think that the most you can know someone else is like, I don't know...
Sure.
60%.
I know that you think that the self knows the self better than anybody else.
No, I know. I think other people know others. Other people have a potential to know you better than you know yourself.
Potential, yes.
And
in a collective, when they discourse because they have so many different perspectives.
No. You just one external individual can know you better. I think that every with any sense of observational skills, any child, and they grow up, tends to know their parents better than their parents know themselves.
I don't think you're wrong about this. You reminded me of something. I'm going to finish the reservoir point that I was trying to make, but he said, and then I'll try and get to it. I did say a while ago I wanted to stop and go to bed, so we can finish then. Let me just make a couple of closing statements and then we'll close it. Yeah, good point. Me and Rezi had a disagreement. He says that he thinks that people are implicitly good. I think that people just want to not be defined. And I was just trying to relate that to this like point about Marilyn Manson, obviously. By like, why did he say that he had a good childhood? Like you said, to contradict the media's narrative about him, to say, actually, you don't understand me. But that's like the issue with being rebellious, that you're always going to get pinned into a corner. And this is also why, this is my grounding statement, I'm not trying to say that I can't do reflection. Because I think, number one, it's a losing proposition to believe something that firm, because you get to just back me in a corner and be like, well, this is because your childhood and this and that and the other and that and the other. It's a cat and game mouse where eventually I get backed into a corner and I have to say, I relent. It's this one thing. One of the explanations has to be true. And you're refusing to play that game too by saying the thing that you said specifically. Multiple things can be true at the same time.
To small extents, yeah. Like anyone, like I could have some grand theory and it could be 1% true, but that 1% is something.
It's insight.
Yeah.
Bare minimum. And I'm not against taking on those insights. And maybe somebody in the chat can answer, but I still want to know, how do you make the first shape in the Japanese body puzzle? How do you relate a causal incident to an emotion?
I've been saying this. Okay, I think that your inability to do that is not it's not like you are going into a work site without the correct tool. I think that it is like you are driving down a road and there are roads that come off that road that you do not even realize are a road, and that's how you get to your destination, but your brain is wired to see that as not a road. That's a place where alligators live.
Do you have any answer that doesn't, be clear, just say subtly in some way, I can't tell you? Do you have anything at all? Or do you think you just can't tell me?
I'm saying that I am saying that I can't tell you because I don't think it is a tool that you can be handed. I think that you are avoidant of the path that would lead you there. That's what I think. But maybe I'm wrong though. If I was wrong, like I mean I'm not like 100%. That's what I think though. I'm like 75% confident.
Sure.
And
I just have to figure out.
And then
I'm going to answer my own question. I'm letting you go. Don't worry. So
I was going to say I'm 75% confident, and if I think that I can only know you 60% of truth, then 60% of 75 is okay.
Yeah, we'll do the both. I thought you were going to say actually that because you believe this 75% and you only think that you can know things about me 60%, that means that at least 15% of that is coming from you.
Well, true. But I would say whatever 60% of a 75%, which is a math I can't do in my head, but
you would multiply the thing by 10 and then divide it by 6.
Yeah, whatever.
Or whatever. Don't worry about it. Or multiply by 6, divide by 10. Whatever. I don't care. You get the point. Because 0.6. We're not going to have a math discussion at your tiredest. It's not the right time. Thanks for talking, man.
Yeah, thanks for talking.
Fun time. Obviously, heavy topic at some points. You felt like you were inside of a minefield of ethical dilemmas.
Well, now I'm realizing that, like, I don't think you're going to step on the mines anyway.
Yeah, no.
No, I'm saying, like, okay. So the thing, my metaphor of like saying you're on a highway, there's dirt roads going off, and you've learned to not see a dirt road as a road, and the dirt road is the path that's going to lead you there. I see that path as filled with landmines. I think if you do go down that path, I think your avoidance is not because I think that if you go there, you're gonna be over what, like you were saying, you'll experience like extreme emotion. I think it will be intense.
Not necessarily. Just certain emotions do. It's not that every emotion. There are some emotions that I experience that are just so subtle that when I experience them, they're like, I don't feel them. I just see signifiers of them. Happiness. I don't feel happiness. I just am happy, and it feels like the lack of any negative emotions.
I'm
But I don't
saying that
feel
those negative emotions that are really, really strong are going to be there. Really, really, really strong.
maybe I already feel a strong negative emotion at random times at a frequent
That
basis, which is
is
why
a
I'm asking.
signifier of what I'm talking about.
What do you mean?
So I think that your avoidance, what I'm calling avoidance, because you're saying you need a tool, but I'm saying it's
I
not
know
a,
why I get that angry. It's not that one's not a mystery to me.
you said random. You used the word random at random times.
Random's not the right word. Random, I should say, infrequent, but I know what the trigger instance is. If I make a mistake that I feel like I can't afford making. Fear of being fired, fear of some consequence befalling due to the mistake.
Yeah. Well, earlier you said that thinking about someone in an intrusive way is a mistake. So you even think that thoughts themselves can be mistakes?
To some degree, yeah. For
Yes,
sure.
yes, exactly. So I'm saying that the thought path, the trail, the dirt path off of the highway, which will lead you to your destination that you're asking me how to get to, it's not that you don't have a car. It's that
Okay.
it's that dirt path is a mistake from your
Um,
definition, and it's going
certain
to.
ones. Certain ones. I don't think that any negative emotion is a mistake. I
I'm
I
not.
think that
I'm just saying. I'm not saying anything specific. I'm just saying that the dirt path is going to be like you're gonna go on and the cars go with landmines all over the place, and like to even get all the way down it, it'll be really, really bad.
I agree with you on on one part of the analogy, which is the idea that there's a highway going forward. There are departures. There are stops that I could, but I just simply don't notice as I'm driving along because I'm driving on the highway, fast, focused, looking forward. I'm not seeing that there are angles and different. I don't see the decision trees. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I agree with that. What I disagree with is the notion that if a departure were to happen, if I were to notice and try to take it, that I would experience as a landmine. Because the thoughts and the emotions that I have that I respond avoidantly to, not the ones that you think. I'm actually going to tell you right now, I'm not the type of person that avoids the strong feelings. I tend to dive fully into them. I, for years, was obsessed and could not, if I had a thought of death, I could not stop thinking about what it would be like to die because I thought, if I just think about this more, if I think about it more, if I imagine it, if I think about what it means to die, that by putting myself in that place and feeling that emotion without reservation, that I will be gifted some kind of conclusion, some kind of deeper knowledge.
I think it's related to how you think about other people.
I'll respond to your thing in just a second. Just to say, it never gave me anything. All I did is feel meaningless terror. It never gave me any resolution. And the only thing that saved me from every single day screaming, waking up in the middle of night, screaming because I was reminded that I'm going to die. And I couldn't hold myself back from that emotion. The only thing was to admit to myself that thinking about death doesn't solve death. Now, why is it the way that I think about other people and the way that I think about myself you think relates to this?
I just think that if you think that thinking thoughts about other people can be a mistake, then I think that is a good jumping off point as to where.
I don't think that thinking the thought is. I just think that it can create a rift. And if you want to stay close with somebody,
You shouldn't think the
such
thought.
as when you want to continue being friends with them, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Shouldn't think the thought.
Yeah, because I have
So you
an
think
end goal
that
in mind.
thinking the thought is a mistake?
No, it's that thinking the thought and not asking them the question.
But you
It's
want
about,
to always ask them the question so you can't think the thought.
no, I would ask them the question.
So why even say it's a mistake?
It's a mistake to keep thinking the thought and not ask the question. If I find myself hung up on a thought about you and I'm not willing to ask it, you agree that it's an issue of cowardice. We agree on that. I'm saying it would be a mistake to not ask the question.
Okay.
To think the thought and not ask the question because it would create a rift.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
I think that there's a rift, and I think that the rift is like there's a rift in your thought process between something that would create a problem and something that will get you forward. And you want to be going forward, you don't want to go into the problem. And that's why you won't do that. And it might not be with everything, but like there's a default structure to how you go about things that prevents it in a generalized way.
Maybe. I agree with the highway portion. I just don't believe the thing that you're saying, which is that if I were to pull off onto the road, that every road would have landmines on it.
No, not every. I just said
very
it's
few would.
generalized. I said it. There might be just one road. Might be just one road that is so scary that all dirt roads look like they're invisible now.
Yeah, sure. Maybe the fear of death has created an apprehension about introspection on emotions. Maybe. Because that was my first emotion that I recognized as a child at about like 4 years old.
That tells me something about your parents.
That I haven't already said? They got divorced at 5. They were distant before that because they didn't want me to know about the nature of the relationship. Got phlegm like crazy. I already know. You already knew. Or maybe you had not ruminated on it. But yeah, I already said. I had a very private, solitary childhood. The first time that I recognized an emotion or a thought or a fear, because it was a fear, and then I had an emotion about that fear, is I recognized that I was going to die. And then I started crying about it. I was in school. And until then, I didn't know what emotions were. I didn't know that you could have a feeling out of nowhere and have it be noticeable. I clearly had emotions, but I never noticed them. You know what I mean? I didn't notice that I was having an emotion. Other people certainly probably saw me, like giggling and running around and playing and doing shit. But I had not been made aware that I could experience my own emotions, that I could recognize them. Probably the first one that I ever did. And maybe, could be because of how early it is, and it was a negative emotion. The first emotion that I was able to take notice of. It's a decent theory. But I'm more interested in how a person would come to notice emotions anyway. Subtle ones. Ones that...
I feel like you keep changing the thing into a different thing.
I came from the beginning saying, how do you cut that first shape? How do you recognize? You are skipping over earlier steps in the thing because of your intuition and how easy it is for you. I've said from the very beginning, this is the thing that I was saying. The hardest part of introspection is the fact that you have to recognize an emotion and give it a causal relation.
The recognizing the emotion we went over, and you just can't if you I don't know how to, but the causal relation. All right. All right. All right.
Is your room just that green right now? Do you have some kind of like effect that makes it so that it looks like there's a bush behind you? Or is it just, yeah, turn it on. I know the green is there, but the way that the green interacts with the black, it's just like, it looks like you're in front of a bush. It looks three-dimensional. I'm having that, do you know the phenomenon I'm talking about? Where something that's concave looks convex?
Oh, yeah, no, it's just the lasers.
Yeah, but the lasers make it look
There's
convex.
a green,
Crazy.
Yeah, there's a green field. I mean, a red field. Because the green on the red.
Whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah.
You're drained. You got to get off. I get it.
Yeah, and what drains me is you jumping around all over the place to try to pin down a narrative, and then you just...
It's like I think that you must be feeling the way that a mouse feels when being hunted by a cat. Because the cat doesn't have an understandable narrative. Because as soon as it guts it, instead of eating it, it plays with it. And you're like, aren't you going to eat me? And you're confused at the end. You think that I'm draining you for some like goal because you're a narrative thinker, but I'm literally just engaging.
No, I don't. No, it's not that.
You did earlier. You did earlier think about me from a narrative frame, I should say.
What?
Maybe you're not doing that now, but the look in your eyes, you were just like, what drains me is that you're hopping all over the place.
Yes, that is not a narrative. That is it drains me that you are unable to allow me to. You're asking me to talk about you in a narrative way, and then every time that happens, the conversation stops being like that immediately. And then
I wasn't asking you to talk
it takes
about me in
a lot
way.
of energy for me to keep it from doing, and then I slowly lost my ability to do it more and more.
Okay. Okay, well, hey. It was good talk to me anyway.
Good talk to you anyway.
Huh?
It was good talking to you anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Didn't mean to drain you, but I can see how that could be draining from a person who thinks differently than me.
Yeah.
Well, I had fun. We'll see whether or not I can ruminate on this discussion, if I'll remember it or not. Maybe I'll get some insight from it.
I think that the parts of the discussion. So I thought that they were very, like important parts of the discussion that you seemed not from my perspective, from yours, like you seemed to like think were like really interesting, and we didn't. Like when you get that, you're supposed to like take that, and then it goes like on Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he's got the wall. Who's Pepe Sylvia? He's got the wall with all the pins and the lines, and you're supposed to put a pin in that, and then when the next part comes, you got a pin in it, and then you keep. But if you don't do that, then you just lose it.
Like put pins in it, or tie string between the pins, or
maybe
what are you saying?
Should like do more journaling so that you can.
I tried it before. I have nothing to say.
Well, you seem to have an epiphany in this conversation.
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It was that people, it's that other people are consistently thinking in narratives and they have intentions behind the things they're saying.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's one. Like that's a thing. That's a thing.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. That's a big deal to you, and
I'll try and remember it.
Yeah. But if you do remember it, you're gonna start making a narrative. You will have to do, because to remember that and then think about that relating to other
observing and
yes,
recognizing narratives
exactly.
that others are constructing. Yeah.
Or no. I was saying to observe that, to remember that, and then think about something else that happens, and then refer back to that. That in itself is a narrative.
How would I do that? That's a whole bunch of extra stuff.
So you understand yourself. So you'll be saying. So
I'm not saying why. I'm saying how. How would a person go about? I see a person constructing a narrative. Why would that refer to something? What would it be?
So there is a difference between how other people are communicating and you, and you've you've got like your foot in the door about what that might be, and so next time some other time you're having a conversation and you notice something's happening, and then you remember that thing, and then you're like thinking about what is happening right now, and then so like you're connecting all these different things, and then it creates like a story that you can like use to try to maybe like, and then you can try to like do things with.
Require more intention than I have, I think. So it would require more self-discovery, quote unquote. I would have to have like things that I'm seeking out.
But it sounds like you have a thing that you're seeking out, though.
Foreign to me. Unarticulated to my own consciousnness. But yeah, there has to be something that pulls that behind curiosity, but I don't know what it is.
Just curiosity. That's just the thing. It could be whatever, but
Eureka and curiosity. I think those are the ones that I notice behind pretty much every emotion that I have that I become compelled by. Challenge. Occasionally. That was what brought me to death. This idea that I thought it was conquerable.
It won't make you happier. Like I was saying, like that's why I'm saying, like maybe the death.
I'm not worried about being happier.
The death thing death thing is related. Okay, like I'm saying, like the thing that you asked me how to do is gonna make you less happy, for sure.
I'm not worried about happiness. It's not my main drive here. I don't feel happiness very strongly. I've already talked about this.
It'll make you feel really bad.
Shame or just discomfort?
Mourning, loss, guilt, absence, shame, abandonment, like big bad things.
That's fine. Why is that's funny to you?
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? Not do something because it'll invoke a litany of bad emotions?
But I think that you are not doing it because of that.
You would have to be speaking on this unconscious level that I can't,
Of course,
I
yes,
can't engage with.
100%, 100%, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying I can't be a part of that conversation. The only thing a person could ever do about that is either deny it, but also be speaking with too much confidence, or affirm it and be speaking with too much confidence as well.
I mean, I might be speaking with too much confidence too.
Of course, you don't
Yeah.
know. We're both just in a point of theorizing when you're talking about my unconscious mind.
Yeah.
The whole thing it's itself a theoretical concept. So
I've had
you got to go.
I've had ancient aliens playing on my laptop in the background. I think is that
There's aliens in the background.
Ancient Alien Theory History Channel documentary.
You know what I'm just gonna say this as a random thing. I've never. It seems as if people watch TV and they watch movies and they read books so often.
I don't.
And I've been told multiple times that people think that I should try reading books in order to experience a narrative. Do you believe that?
I think that probably makes sense.
What's your first? What would you say is the first book a person should read if they're retarded?
Movies.
But I don't recognize. I can watch a movie, but I'm not paying attention to the plot at all.
I don't read books.
It's just pictures. It's pretty.
Yeah, listen to music and listen to the words. Watch movies and pay attention to the plot.
I can try the latter. Words ruin music. I can't.
Yeah, that's why I got a lot of insight from how you talked about music, and yeah.
You lose the feeling. The emotion of music exists inside of the tensions and the tones. But like when I think about words, it becomes linguistic. It becomes cognitive.
I don't need to think. I don't have to put any thought into the tension and the tones. I do if I want to create it. But when I'm listening to it, I literally don't need to think about that at all for it to convey the emotion to me. The all these musical swells and all the tension between the chords, it all happens without me thinking about it whatsoever, period. And the thing that I do need to think about is the poetry and the narrative that is being portrayed to me, and that in conjunction with the swells that automatically happen create something that's way more powerful to me. And I noticed that I used to be the other way when I was a little kid, and I was playing instruments a lot, and I was like, oh, and I had this really snobbish attitude about music where then as I started becoming more of like a narrative thinker, then I became like really invested in the lyrics, and I realized that I literally had to put zero effort into the thing that I thought was the thing I had to put all the effort into.
Well, I'm not putting effort into. I agree with you 100%. I don't think when I'm listening to music. I'm not like there. It happens automatically, of course, but I don't want to be thinking about the meaning of the song because it mutes the feeling.
I don't agree.
The thing that I like about music, the automatic, the sensory, the symbolic changes that happen sublingually, it all disappears when I know what the words are and that they're words and I'm thinking. It all goes away. I lose all emotion when I think about lyrics.
It might be just a ability to do them at the same time. For me, I just have it's just completely effortless.
I don't think I can think and feel at the same time. That's my fundamental weird thing about me.
Yeah.
When I think, feeling goes away. When I feel, I lose the ability to think. There's something about that. It's probably how strong I feel and how focused I need to be in order to think. Any amount of distraction. Emotions are too distracting for me to think. I feel like I'm in an ocean with no paddle, and I don't understand how people think when they have an emotion.
I think,
and I also don't understand how
being a musician, I think, kind of messes you up a little bit.
You think so?
Yeah. Not that I don't. I've heard this before,
For musicians.
Yeah.
I mean, I did start playing music when I was about like 12, and I've played music my entire life, and it is my primary avenue of expressing emotion. But I don't know what the emotions are. I just know that instinctively while I'm doing something, I can tell what I'm meant to do as the next stage, but I have no cognitive recognition of what it means or any symbolic relation. It's just this is right, that is wrong.
Yes.
So that there might be a tension there, a developmental tension, where I developed one skill, expression, but I developed it through a medium which has allowed a sort of like schism between feeling and
Yeah, because to play the music, you can't
thinking.
feel the music while you play it. So,
Yeah, I've said that before. You know about that, yeah.
yeah.
You have to be a machine while you perform. When you play alone, you can feel,
Yeah.
or I can feel. I can't say, I shouldn't say that about others, but most musicians relate to that when I say that. I say the bass player's job is to have no emotion, and that's why they always look like the cool one, because bass guitar is so hard to play accurately and well and listen to at the same time. Drums, the total opposite. You look very emotional. Singers, you look very emotional. But bass players in particular, there's something about the way that the focus necessary for it is. Yeah, it's different.
All right. Good night.
Bye. Love you, Ben.
All right. Back. Bye. Love you. All right. 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 Uh-oh. I go to bed now. Will I wake up? What connects me to me tomorrow? I gotta go to work in the morning. I'm gonna get up at 6 because I don't have to be in work until 8. I might get up at 6:45. Yeah. 6:45, baby. I'm sleeping in. Yeah. The life of luxury. I have such a fucking luxurious, wonderful life. If only you could be like me. If only you could suffocate on your own shit. Yeah. I'm not afraid to go to sleep. You're afraid to go to sleep. You're not afraid to go to sleep. I'm afraid to wake up because I don't want to go to work. Gonna go to work and pace back and forth and have nothing to do but to dwell in the most shallow possible way, where I can't really even dive deep into anything because someone needs me to be attentive and they need me to smile. Have a good day. Do you need some help? Did you find anything? Did you find everything you need? Or did the baby find everything they need? Do you need me to use the app on the phone that'll tell you where the things on the store are? Because I can help you. I can do that because you can't do it yourself. So I will tell you. I will go into my phone and I will press the button. And I'll tell you, see, it's a really slow application. It's really slow. It's got a lot of bloat. So I will wait. We'll spend 5 minutes, and I'll be here for you for 5 minutes, and I'll tell you everything. I will type in the name of the item you want. We'll try it together, and then I'll tell you where it is in the store. So how's your day going? How you doing? How you doing, Seth? How you doing, Seth? How you doing? Good. Fuck you. Stop telling me. Stop asking me how I'm fucking doing. Shut the fuck up. You don't want to fucking know. Ah! And then when a coworker asks me how I'm doing, I'm like, oh fuck, you know you get this all the fucking time, and you want to ask me how I'm fucking doing. Just fucking walk. Keep fucking walking. Don't fucking talk to me. You don't want to know how I'm doing, and you know that you don't want to know how I'm doing. I don't want to know how you're doing. So just fucking keep walking and give me a fucking break. This is my job. My job is for people to ask me how I'm doing. You want to fucking you know how it feels to do my job, so you want to make me do it even more? Fuck you. I am going to go to sleep. And then when I wake up, that's the world that I'm going to be spawned into. I'm going to be fucking plopped down, birthed from the sky, from God's fucking wet vagina, right in smack dab, dizzy and dazed right in the morning with stars around my eyes, wondering what's going on, plopped into this hellscape. And then as I come into reality, and I come into my awareness of what is happening, and how am I doing? I'm doing good. Find everything you need. That'll be $5. That'll be $4.99. Oh, a $5 bill? We don't accept tips, sir. Here's your penny. I got you the shiniest one. This is your lucky penny. Here you go. Ooh, you're getting some peanuts and some chips. You're dining out? Well, I'll give you a napkin with that, straight from the printer machine. Haha. Gotta keep myself entertained somehow. Oh, hey, you look bored. Why don't I help entertain you? Oh, you look bored, Sonny. I'll give you something to do. Fuck you. I was thinking, ma'am. I was thinking about how awful it is to be here. I was busy thinking about how awful it is to be here. Thank you very much. Have a good night, Smeth heads. I'll see you in hell.